Nah, that's not loud enough. It should be more like...
Capcom.
Ooh, that's some peak illustrious energy right there. Which is what I'd say the early days of 3D fighters had in general, to be honest. One look at Tobal No. 1's quest mode. And this scary blue chicken man, and it's like, oh yes, I see, Tekken 1 FMV. Of course, a lot of that was new early technology, and studios not normally known for fighters getting in on a new hotness, like indeed Square and Namco, though even industry legends like Capcom had a bit of a moment trying to translate their 2D fighting prowess into the new dimension, with their first attempt being Star Gladiator, a game that came and started development as a Star Wars title before then either losing the license or never having gotten it to begin with, and serving primarily as a type of testing ground. They did publish Toshinden 2 to arcades after all, and seeing its high-octane action and amazing live-action FMV and blazingly realistic swordplay, they knew that they could only retaliate by creating one of my favorite fighting game characters of all time. Big Smile swag, the perfect green, cool earrings, and Spyro 2 water vibes. It's Saturn from Star Gladiator! A title that, to me, visually looks a lot like the graphical progenitor to Mega Man Legends, as it contains the same pixel-drawn textures with bold but still vaguely pastel-esque colors, thick line work, and a heaping heap of animatus. The latter would become a significant trend later, what with Evil Zone, literal anime fighters, and fighters based off of anime, so I'd argue that that's quite a bit ahead of its time, and it certainly captures the energy better than Toshinden ever did, if you ask me. Its characters felt more like rejects and cutting room floors, whereas Star Gladiator's cast defo has "this could have been a show" qualities. Also, the soundtrack is fucking incredible, with some rather fittingly dramatic and anime romantic dropping my rose and clenching my fist over the top synth proggy butt rock that gives its stages a distinctly epic flair. Space combat, sunsetty rocket platforms, the deck of a flying airship topped by giant jet engines, and clouds whizzing past by the stage. The vibes is on point, no doubt. Oh. That gameplay, however, is not exactly the smoothest. Put plays side by side at Spears, it's like, yeah, okay. Taking Tekken 1 for 1. Slow, stiff feeling, lot of stuck in place, no lunge. Real motherfucker AI, but cool vibes, and that's about where I put this 2 for 2. Everyone is heavy and slow to get going. The animations might be cool looking, but they ain't quite snippy enough to be fluid, and yet, on the dick flip, that heft also adds to how hits land. Screen shudders and low hitches and freezes upon big connects paired with really crunchy slashing and impact sounds, boasting some hardcore Mortal Kombatian bass. It's a slower, heavier fighter for sure, but that's not entirely due to this being amateur hour. There's defo some consideration going on behind this being a deliberate effort. For example, it's made for the PS1 from the ground up. Capcom pulled a Namco and had its arcade board made to basically be a PlayStation, and so it also only uses 4 buttons. Additionally, I fuck with however the fuck these plasma bars work. I'm not sure what, but they're doing something. Yeah, I just like this game even if it's a little rough around the edges. More fun to go back to than its direct peers, certainly. Although, I also can't help but wonder if maybe Capcom themselves felt it may have been time to go back to the 3D drawing boards a little bit. I mean, it did okay in arcades in Japan and certainly impressed with its graphics come PS1, but it wasn't exactly hitting the highs of their 2D efforts, both critically and commercially. After all, their Street Fighter II and Final Fight golden boy Akira Nishitani had since moved on to form his own studio, Arika, thus leaving the Star Gladiatorial duties to this new guy called Hidetaki Itsuno. Never heard of him. Nothing too bad though, as Itsuno would go on to direct his most famous series, Dragon's Dogma, and Arika was hired by Capcom pretty much right out of the goddamn gate to give another shot at this whole 3D thing. This time with their flagship series, Street Fighter itself. continuing the epic solo-heavy synthy 80s cock prog anime stylings with dramatic pensions, but stripping back the gameplay to something a bit less adventurous and more snippy 2D traditional, which, in my opinion, really fucking worked. I mean, not to like shoot any shots, but Street Fighter, its original cast, they're iconic, but also a little bit basic in some ways. Exceptions aside, there's many typical martial arts men and shit. There ain't too much difference between Joe Karateka's sprite over here and whatever Ryu is. Because, you see, what Street Fighter 2 did was mainly make the gameplay, not like this. And later, series like Tekken and SNK's 2D efforts would start to spruce it up stylistically with edgier characters, with more character, anime influences, plots and whatnot, FMVs. And Street Fighter at this point in time wouldn't be on that wave quite yet, but Arika would take them there. Just look at Ken from SF2 versus Ken from EX1. Suddenly, it's like, whoa, there's a guy here. He's got stuff going on. Skamen. Stage with Sakura, tree leaves, creepy, edgy, anime doctor, gas mask man, and... Arika! Does this look like the logo of someone you'd fuck with? EX2 took it to the fucking moon though. I goddamn love this game. It's so stylish. Like 1 is neat, but the music ain't that great and the gameplay is a little slow feeling with weird moon physics and the roster doesn't have nearly enough crazy OCs yet. But here in 2, we got chicks with robot arms on roller skates and this sleeked up looking homie with the ice cream swirly hair and music that has ballin' of the soul. It's flashier, louder, dumber and cooler than what regular Street Fighter was at the time, and very much attuned to the tastes of my developing dumb bitch kid brain. I mean, by the time you start tossing bitches and releasing thunder from your fists or doing whatever this shit is, I think it's safe to say that this game owns. There's such a nice, smooth and snappy feeling to it too. Lots of gliding motions, but really swift animations that make your button inputs more direct than what they'd be like in many other fighters of its day. Less obsessed with mo-capping realistic martial arts fighting styles as we got fucking meteor showers and every hit that lands has a super slight freeze frame that has big impact. Pair that up with the cool sunglasses cat type music and you end up with a game that feels as if the fighting game equivalent of a boxy 80s prototype sports car. Angular, edgy, but fast, sleek and cool. And this one doesn't even have the car. No, of course not. Fuck no. You take out a goddamn satellite in space instead, because that's how we fucking roll, bitch. EX fucking 2, baby! Yeah! Oh god. All the way on the other side of the world. Capcom USA, whatever the fuck that is, was also working on a 3D fighter of their very own, being Final Fight Revenge for the Sega Saturn. The Final Fight Streetwise of 3D fighters. It has very hip-hoppy, grimy stages, 3D designs, and trumpet stab-heavy music that I fucking adore. The exact polar opposite of the flash and bang of EX, really, as it is the jank and stank instead. Because, yeah, this is right back to that Toshinden feel. In 1999. Post EX2, post Tekken 3 even. The AI manages to block just about everything you dish out, your radius of attack is pitifully limited, movement is mannequin-like, and really, all I felt I could do was jump around a lot as to feel as if I had some semblance of nice feeling movement. I suppose it does have some neat ideas with it having pick-upable items littered about the stage, which I think are fun just because of how dumb and goofy shit gets, but even then I do find the hits to feel very flaccid. The general punching sounds sound more like a type of old anime what snap sound or some shit. Dang, that's a powerful backbreaker sound effect right there. Really capturing the might of the twig. Though, I don't know. Something about picking up a freeze gun mid-street fight, fucking hind D attacks, blocking flamethrowers with your bare arms, drinking espresso from a crate, rocket launcher, stripper poles, what the fuck ever, all topped off by the just cruising type beat, blissfully bumping away in the background. There's a casual, lackadaisical, fun-loving fun going on here that I think legit suits the slow jerky combat very well. Yeah, I love how slow the timer is too. There ain't even a little bit of pretense that this shit is at all high action.
Yes. Ready? Fight!
I mean, listen to these crickets. What's very interesting as well is how the meta of the game began to shift around the crazy grab bag of pick-upables. The moment it began to set in how bad the normal combat felt, I was really only obsessed with getting those items, and the AI basically is too. But when you get hit hard enough, you drop what you have, and so the combat went from this shit-ass Toshinde'Ns stiffy fight to this tug-of-war scrunch scuffle trying to muscle each other out of getting that there sidewalk AR. That's the tech of revenge. The footsies, the mind games, the advanced plays, and I genuinely have my fun with that. Big dumb smile on my face all the way. In that sense, it very successfully converts a 2D beat-em-up into a 3D fighting game with its casual walking and pick-upables and what I guess are essentially set pieces in the form of fun specials. That's what I think that they were going for, at least, even if that may not make for a good competitive traditional fighter per se. Either way, I think the fact that even the fighting flag bearer Capcom was pushing out oddities like this is pretty telling of what oddities will lie ahead in the rest of this video. That said, EX2 is goated, and Capcom would eventually sort themselves out regardless with shit like Rival Schools and even a bona fide DreamCast sequel to Star Gladiator called Plasma Sword Nightmare of Bilstein. After all, the first game ends with Bilstein's body was never found. So why not build that Stein a second time? And it's a much funner game, honestly. What's really interesting, however, is that I grew up in a house of crimes. Chip PS1, so all games free, all my Game Boy games were bootlegged, and my dad was going around burning DVDs like it wasn't shit. And yet, somehow, even despite that, my mom would still go out to rent movies from time to time. And whenever she'd do, I'd get to rent a little video game too. This is how I was introduced to Final Fantasy through 8, and it's how I'd one day rent a mysterious fighting game. I do not remember what the name of this game was, but I explicitly remember how it looked. I recall a big blue city backdrop. I can still envision a cool, sleek, speedy blue mech suit guy. And I remember laser swords. And, well, looking at Plasma Sword, it's like, this is totally it, right? Well, I wouldn't actually see a Dreamcast in person until I bought one late 2020, so there's no possible way that it could have been, even though it looks exactly like what I recall. The easy go-to would be that I just got Star Gladiator, and that child memories are vague and bullshit, and you would be right, but just what if, you know? What if? What if Europe, or even certain countries in Europe, had some obscure, exclusive, largely undocumented PS1 port of Plasma Sword? What if? Well, it was actually a game called Zero Divide. Or possibly both it and Starglad and my memories just got mixed up. Who fucking knows? I'll never give up on my port theory though. It's real. It's real, I tell you. But yeah, Zero Divide. It's got the blue robot at least. That is pretty neat to boot. The combat's rather mechanical, robotic, which is a nice way of saying that it basically handles like Tekken 1, only a lot worse. I do quite like how it has body part damages as displayed here, and you can also hang off of ledges instead of getting ringed out right easy. Bizarrely, for as far as I can tell, you only have 2 buttons to really do anything with. Circle for kick, X for punch, as the 2 remaining face buttons only block and the shoulder buttons don't do no nothing. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't technically still have a ton of depth with just that when you also take directions and combinations between the 2 into consideration, Virtua Fighter style, but what I am saying is that I don't think that Zero Divide really has that depth. Fun enough in a simple way though. Hits hit hard and hits hit hard, so at least it has hard hitting hits going for it. Music's really nice as well. I'm just not using it as BGM because I don't want this entire fucking video to sound like someone's Sins Fusion jam session. The arcade mode has some cute gimmicks where you can pick who to fight each, level of the proverbial node tower rather than getting RNG'd opponent, and I heavily fuck with the screen you use to do so. It looks great.
I can't believe you're giving up so soon! You're such a baby!
What the fuck? Why'd it cut off like that? Why does this game have built-in meme editing? Anyway, a game like this, just sort of existing, floating around as if indeed a vague collective memory, seems to me like a pretty good jumping off point to take a deeper dive into the flood of 3D fighters on the PS1. So, the thing be is that early 3D opened up a lot of doors for changes and experimentation. New genres getting invented left to right, conventions, expectations, and traditions being shattered across the board, and 3D modeling overall kind of lowering the bar to access to certain genres. No longer did one need to draw endlessly long and overly detailed sprite sheets per character. Nah, bitch, just slap some triangles and rectangles together, maybe texture them a little bit, drag and drop some mocap if you fancy, or just go full mannequin legs on that hoe TOSHINDE'N's style and boom, you got yourself a 3D fighter. And with the PS1 being easily the more dominant console that gen, this is where much of it centered. Which also meant that the potential for profit increased given that there were hella new audiences you had access to. Suddenly, Koei, prior known mostly and only for strategy games, had set up Omega Force, a division tasked primarily to make baller-ass, cool-ass, 3D-ass action games, kicking open the doors with motherfucking Dynasty Warriors. A curio fighter, being that it's not a Muso, but a fighter, and that it doesn't have a block, but a parry, whereby striking at the same time as your opponent, you can deflect hits. Wow! Also fucking love this character select screen. This perfect green, with the beautiful engravings contrasting wonderfully with its dimly lit, harshly shaded character portraits, as it gives way to deep burgundy reds and gradiated golds on the pre-battle screens that follow. It's kind of a stereotypical Chinese aesthetic in some ways, but the deeper and darker than usual color choices gives it a rich, fancy vibe. Same with the deep green yin-yangs as wind pips and P-life bars and the sharp mysticism-coated countdown font. It's never as loud as other arcade fighters, nor as bold as the more restaurantian generic in aesthetics, as it is a bit more withheld. Classier, like an expensive silk Chinese dress in game aesthetic form. Ooh, Dynasty. Probably more interesting though is the Strega. A psychological horror game also by Smegaforce, and perhaps the more interesting game seeing as it's a proto-arena fighter and pretty much also a whole-ass PS1 in-engine feature fucking film. Ah! Fuck yeah, bro. Tell him how it is.
What a loser!
Yeah, that's defo what I'd say to the person who just murdered my entire fucking family.
Aunt Hilda, friends, hear me. I will avenge your deaths.
Yeah, that's more like it, you room echo ass bitch.
I swear it.
You underestimate your opponent, my young friend.
Oh shit. The fucking dramatic music, hell yeah.
You will join us, yes?
No way.
What? But why?
I don't care about some duty I know nothing about. You are beaten. Surrender yourself.
Oh damn. It's Titus.
Then you leave me no choice.
In fact, most characters in this game are Titus.
Please, princess. If Madame Milena found out, she'd have my head.
Yeah, this is great. I fucking love the Strega. And the combat's cool too. It's very ranged, only becoming non-ranged when up close, because that's how ranged works, but it does do that automatically. The buttons do be buttons, but the functions of the buttons button different depending on the button range. You can also stack button to button harder, like a one-time button might do a little pellet, but a three-time button, oh baby, is a whole ass spread of spells, and each face button is its own button. I like it. It's not deep per se, but there's something very pleasing about hovering in midair while essentially nuking thine opponent point blank with a flurry of PS1 particle buttons. Also, dog, it's got animated faces. MGS1 didn't even have those, and this is at least about as cutscenes as Metal Gear. Plus, having your fighting games' story mode be basically a movie in which one plays the action scenes is normal now, but I think this may very well be the first instance of that happening. And, as I said, it's more or less the first arena fighter too, which is not a topic door I wish to open right now, as bringing those could horribly bloat the scope of this video, but it makes the Strega quite a smidge ahead of its time. Either way, Namco, Koei, and Square wouldn't be the only ones throwing their respective hats in the ring, as less famously, or infamously, Konami also partook in the three-dimensional fuckage with Kensei's Sacred Fist.
Cougar.
A kinda sorta maybe full-on Tekken ripoff with Akira Yamaoka of all people doing the OST.
Ready? Fight!
Continuing the horror themes here, I guess.
Ready? Fight!
Which is certainly tellable from the music. It's a very edgy, moody feeling game, and also, yo, this character select screen fucks. Didn't think we'd top Dynasty Warriors, but I cannot deny the sheer Silver Casian PFP's gradients, layouts, and color schemes at display here. Look at this shit! Now look at this shit! Fuck yes!
Fight!
The box art is also just full of edge. Cold Chamber looking ass dude and everything, and the music goes all like... Bruh, that's a dope skyline pan right there. I also love this iced out businessman in his evil money office who, when defeated after just one round, pussies out and calls over his scary buddy. Dude's basically just a goonier Tech 2 Kazuya, but the swag on display still speaks to me deeply. Especially with these really smooth and high poly for their time character models. Which are extra impressive considering that the stages also use 3D elements that still do that rotatey image thing. It's an odd middle ground, but I like it. Same way the gameplay and the handling thereof is downright bizarre, as it's both smooth and rigid. The moment you enter a combo, shit's great. Almost Tekken 3 or VF2-esque in its combo fluidity, but outside of combos, it's like fucking Tekken 1. Movement, feeling fuck, the time spent on ground after getting knocked down can be fucking obscene, even for PS1 fighter standards, and getting into combos can feel a little weird as well, as it has these hard binary states of combo and non-combo. Some real fucko bingo code going on under the hood here, no doubt, but I enjoy it. Weird as it is, I like how exaggerated the animations are. It gives your moves a very aggressive quality that makes them a lot of fun to pull off, and the weird tripping mechanic, whatever the fuck this is, as well as it picking, dodging, over blocking, adding some really super swift footsies and copious custom animations, both add a bit of dynamism to the binary. Yes, it is basically just a bootleg Tekken 3 if Tekken 3 liked corn just a little too much, but that in and of itself is pretty darn adorable too.
You lose.
Yo, is that fucking Steven Seagal? During doing my research into these mostly only 90s fighters that I've talked about so far, I began to notice how I could slowly see the graphics wearing off over the course of the decade as motherfuckers started getting more critical. Game fan called Zero Divide one of the best 3D fighting games of all time. Computer and Video Games magazine stated that it is, in some ways, even better than the original Virtua Fighter, and offers some serious competition against Tekken, saying that Zero Divide is better looking and more intuitive, concluding it to be a stunning, finely tuned game. Battle Arena Toshinden was critically acclaimed when released. Electric Playground gave the game a perfect score of 10 out of 10 in 1995. GamePro reviewed the Japanese version of the game in early 1995, prior to the PlayStation's launch in the US. They remarked that the game is very impressive and superior to Virtua Fighter in some aspects. And then when you look at how folks talked about Kensei, a game I quite enjoyed and in my opinion plays much better and has far more going for it than either of these two chuckle fucking games did, but came out in 1998, and so its GameSpot review starts off with, "In a world of 3D fighters where mediocrity has become the norm, an exceptional remains the exception. It takes a special fighter to stand out amongst the crowd. Does Kensei's Secret Fist have what it takes to take on the likes of Tekken 3 and Dead or Alive? Which, no, of course it didn't. But this still don't make it a fucking 4 out of 10, dog. Jesus. In essence, though, everything began to stand in the shadow of Tekken 3 as that game blew the fuck up. And it ain't hard to see why, neither. All the stiff or slow or jank that I have to mention and set aside for so many of these games is not even remotely findable here. Movement speeds is quick. Combos all flow into each other very nicely and naturally and are pretty easy to intuit given the universal button layouts. There's hella quality of life improvements too, like being able to kick while on the floor, getting up fast and going into combos from there. Falling down is no longer this massive cock block or dull moment, it's just another opportunity for you to kick ass. Same way, damage outputs is way higher than other fighters. They can even run super easily now as well, so clearing gaps is never an issue, not to mention that flowing into movesets of their very own. Everything stands in service of keeping the action at a quick and high pace. Tekken 3, game feel-wise, could have came out today. So then, when you contrast that to, say, Killing Zone from just a year earlier, it really starts to highlight how much of a game changer Tekken 3 truly was. Can't say I hate this either though. It's definitely funny and was made by Scarab, later renamed to Feel Plus, who made one of my favorite PS360 aesthetic games of all time, Mindjack. Very epic. In any case, at that point in time, to be at all successful or highly regarded by journalists, you'd either have to be better than Tekken 3, which, good luck with that, or you would simply go weird.
Come on, be free again. You're the master. You're back to master.
Dog. What even is this? There's MIDI reggae, trippy FMVs, penis music, jerky fighting, dialogue screens, random title cards going ham, booby lady box art, hamster. Battlemaster does not fuck around. This is one of those all cylinders type of games where literally nothing is normal and everything is stylized. Yeah, exactly. But also just look at this combat. This super stark and flat side view, this skung rave music, the bars down below, which is some fucking Toshinden 3 shit, and just fighting to fight all logic to me at first. One kick, one punch, not even a jump, can barely walk, and I was also getting my shit kicked in. But then, when I lost, I saw this screen. This cool screen with cool music, upon which it began to dawn upon me that this was, in fact, a JRPG. These screens are towns, folks to talk to, places to go, saves to saves, and the fighting gets you experience you can level up and gain more moves. The combo system also works through holding down shoulder buttons, which makes it weirdly modern arena fighter-esque. JoJo Eyes of Heaven worked very similar. Though, once again, that's staying behind the fucking door. But then I clicked on the bottom button and I once again had my reality shattered. Not just because this music was nice, but also because, like, we got mech suits, I think? Is this even a fighting game? What have I stumbled onto is what I asked myself as I began to fumble about with what I'm assuming is a very in-depth mech customization menu where none of the buttons make conventional sense and I can't read shit. What is this sad save menu? So melancholic. Or should I say, melancholic? Yeah, man, that shit is wild. I'm not sure if I even like it. Even when I sort of got the hang of how the fighting worked, and that sorta comes with hecka asterisks, as I have no idea how to navigate any of its deeper shit. The handling of it is like sub Tekken 1. It's very restrictive, but given that it's probably more of a RPG than a fighter, that might not be too bad. It's just that I wasn't able to win anything to get to leveling up in the first place. Very cool and different though, I'll say that. Absolutely nothing conventional about it. Not even a simple versus mode or a time attack thingy. Maybe you can unlock all of that, but even if, that's still rather bizarre. I mean, imagine having to beat Urgeis's RPG mode before one can even access the regular arcade. Actually, has anyone ever done that? Legit curious. I've never made it very far, and I tried as a child. If you have, let me know in the comments below. Speaking of curious RPG modes, by the way, there's also Shaolin, a title that looked at Tekken 3 and said, okay, but what if just Mokujin, but like times 10? And it's also a really elaborate JRPG that chronicles whole generations and lifetimes of characters in its world, with mocapped combat based in-depthly on simulating IRL fighting styles. It's neat, but I've covered it before. In a similar vein, we also have Burn as well. Part fighter, part action-adventure, and part this. At least it does have a regular arcade mode. Not that you'd want to go there, as this is essentially a sneaky Toshinden. Slow and wooden, with damage outputs that are low and no gooden. Proudly displaying that trademark Toshinden accidentally running around each other and missing due to the 3D going burr fighting. This is because, like BAT, Burn is also made by Tamsoft, who are Skunk Gods and certified recurring characters on this channel. They made Knight and Baby, One-chan-Bara, Booby Game, and Captain Tsubasa, Rise of New Champion. They are both over and underachievers, and while I love them, I'm pretty comfortable in saying that they aren't the greatest at making fighting games. But hey, that's not really what this game is about anyway. Oh my, oh me, I do say and do declare that this boy right here is stankin'. Because, you see, every single character has their own fully unique story mode. Voiced cutscenes, custom levels, personalities, and background stories, and directing that lacks the clunk and chunk that titles like Strega had. Legit, presentation-wise, this puts even some modern-day fighting game story modes to shame. No boilerplate talky scenes, nothing. We got facial animations and musical scores and dramatic close-ups and pans that actually work. Editing, cuts, spacing are all solid with no weird awkward pauses. It's weird, because you'd think with Tamsoft being such jank captains they'd bungle the cinematics, but in between this, Z2 Chaos, and their more recent Tsubasa game, I must say that they're actually quite great at making engrossing cutscenes. The dungeon controls, on the other hand, might perhaps be just that smidge too Tobalian. It's got tank controls, but first-person PS1 style tank controls despite not being in first-person, meaning that one turns with R2 and L2 and moves and strafes with the D-pad. That thing I couldn't get used to, and it certainly ensures that the camera doesn't become an issue during the platforming, which works very well in part due to you not being able to fall off of ledges. To get past, you have to jump, and the jumping is decently reliable distance-wise, but it is a little odd. In fact, Burn has a fair few quality of life shits that one wouldn't normally see in games of this era, like a map, and free heals every couple fights or so, and yeah, I also dig the look. The texture use is sort of selective, as seen here in these caves. Walls on FF7 Chocobo Racing-ish gradients, but then the little waterfall or the edges off of cliffs have accented pixel art on them. Tons of very blocky geometry reminiscent of Knight and Baby, as are these adorable little interiors. I take it that the flat-shaded polys were likely a necessity, as the FPS clearly struggles to maintain the moment too many JPEGs start crowding the screen. And while they might make depth perception a little weird sometimes, I can't really hate on these gradient hills neither, which is kind of my vibe overall. It shouldn't work as well as it does, but it does. Take the combat for example, which technically handles like a normal fighting game does, only because you and your opponent are always close enough together to actually have hits connect due to it locking you onto and into them and their sphere of combat. With a camera angle better suited for fighting, it simply lets one stun lock the shit out of everything you come across. There's such a simple joy to one-shot kicking a confused rat and having it shit out a key and then using said key to open a fat, beefy, thick wooden bridge. Jumping across platforms suspended over rushing currents and having scoped out the scenery and deciding to Jesus walk your way across to explore, it's cool. Halabala Burns successfully combines simple, streamlined environments with minor exploration, frequent goodie drops, fun cathartic combat, and controls that, while old-timey, are still plenty well-suited to doing all of that. Besides, I'd say that the levels are very well paced, never being too spammy with the enemies and having little mini-bosses or set pieces to catch you by surprise and very frequent save points, which I'd say are important too. You know, it's not some unfair old third-person piece of shit. I actually had tons of fun with this, and in my opinion, Alb is leagues ahead of Toe Balls or Urguys' dungeon modes or Tekken Force mode, and not just because it shits all over the fighting game that's inside of here. It even has this part, with dragons harassing a bridge, requiring the player to time their walk along and oh my god, it's just like Dark Souls! Legit though, actually, it reminds me of Evergrace. The color palette and the fact that it even does the thing where areas fold in on themselves and so you can travel quite the distance and suddenly look back over the area you just started at. Just like... Honestly, the only thing I don't like about the story is the bosses utilizing the Toshinden combat again. It's quite the whiplash. Oh, goddamn. Sorry, dude. Either way, that's certainly a cute note to end the PS1 segment. Started from Toshinden, now we here at another Toshinden. But fuck it, man, it ain't even about that. If there's anything, though, that these last few games made me want to ask, it's this. What the fuck even is a fighting game? Oh, that's always a good sign. Damn dog, legends. Damn dog, legends. I think. I mean, they published a Sniper too, so... Legend. I don't know who y'all are, but you made this, so legend. Oh, fuck yeah, man. Look at Smidgar over here. Oh, shit. Yeah. Yeah, damn, look at that bitch go. Typing. Oh, fuck. Warning. Yeah, get the disc. Oh, shit, the baby. Oh, no, the baby. The baby. I guess it's just toppled now. Anyway, boom. The title screen. Deli Strike. Let's get it. Alright. Not exactly a big roster, I'll say that. Mikoto, though. Oh, we got costumes? Or we don't? We don't got costumes? Whatever. Let's fucking go. George of Atheism. The Brendan Fraser movie people don't remember. What the fuck? What the fuck is this? Yeah, so this ain't a fighting game. It's actually a simple series beat 'em up. Weirdly, it does very much have the aesthetics of a fighter though, doesn't it? FMV showing off the cast, for instance, and the character select screen primarily. And there's plenty more games like that too. Take One-on-One, for example. Another simple series game. Cast with FMV, the camera angle and framing, the titular one-on-the-one. Both of these games look like they'd be fighters, but Deli Strike certainly ain't, and One-on-One, I don't know. Is it? It's a basketball game, sure, but I mean, fucking look at it though. The footsie game is real. Hooping the ball is easy, as it's all about the defense, offense, and the jukes, the jives, and the sneaky runarounds. There's a palpable tension to knowing when to strike to nab a ball, having to monitor your opponent's movements, trying to guess what they might pull next, which makes landing those hoops when you do with the clench run to victory following a suspenseful defense or offense all the more rewarding. Shit fucks, and comes across to me as if a more active recreation of what competitive fighting could be like. Cause, I mean, most fighting game AI, certainly at the time, doesn't exactly invoke the mind games and footsies of fighting games online. But one-on-one, by nature of it being all about ball stealing, does, and I like that a lot. It might not be a fighter per se, but it sure shit has the spirit. FGC of the soul. And that's a beautiful thing. Oh man, where'd you go? Is the kendo a fighter? Who is kendo? Probably my faith non-fighter fighter is Dragon Ball Z The Legend. Or Legends. Look man, this game has like a billion names and very odd localizations. It's weird, but it's weird, so weird fits. Tug of war, bar, no life. Fuck health. Big stages do damage to tug the war, so you can do a fucko trademark DBZ cinematic attack, which then fucks the health. IMO, this is one of the few DBZ games to actually capture the action of the show. Actually having these huge hawk bonker brawls and giant big open maps with small pixel art people genuinely all help hit the skill home. Has some simple baseline mechanics that involve using the D-pad in conjunction with the face buttons to do cool sort of knockdowns that can be chained together as to tug bar harder, though generally a lot of it's down to shooting little pellets and flying about, but I mean that's more or less what DBZ was like anyway, so it checks out. Besides, the story mode fucks. Going through the whole DBZ anime in this cute diorama action figure smashing style with manga panel cutscenes framed as episode preambles, and when you hit select you actually get to smoke some of the sideline banter from whoever else is involved but isn't fighting. Cute is how I describe it, and I'd say all of this is also pretty important to a weirdo non-fighter such as this. I mean, it's not like people are gonna play this at a tournament competitively much, and even one-on-one had one, and that game you totally could do that with, so story modes matter. And if we're gonna talk non-fighting games, fighting games with story modes, then there can be only one to take the crown. Legends. Hayato Kongo is the heir of a construction god legend, yet his true powers have yet to awaken. Enter rivaling construction companies, dashing pretty boys, and a weird stepsister marriage thing, and we have Battle Construction Vehicles, aka BCV. And we got ourselves a whole visual novel up in this bitch. The plot unfolds through text-based shouting, animated shouting, title screen shouting, and in-game shouting, upon which one battles construction vehicles, violently grinding, deeply digging, aggressively bulldozing, and suggestive forklifting. This game does it all. And aesthetically, it totally nails the construction sensations, as in that stuff is stiff and uses the D-pad for some arcane reason, and most of your offensive capabilities are limited to just sort of nudging each other. But that isn't to say that there ain't no strategy to it. Where you hit vehicles matters. The type of vehicle matters in regards to where it can attack you from and with what. Cranes can swoop and forks can lift, but are also much quicker and easier to turn, which is great for triggering the cutscene specials. Not sure if anything really causes these to happen other than damage taken or time spent, but when they do, there'll be a temporary radius of fuckage within which the objective will be to either trap thine opponent in it so the attack will engage, or to escape theirs. And dog, these are fucking great. Giant fencing gods emerging to smash, goddamn grand slam home run, or
Taste of the ocean. And that's that.
and we do have face buttony things as well. X does a block by way of girders jittering up from the ground, which looks cool and feels powerful, and depending on the vehicle in question, you have lunges, forks, or arms at your disposal to do heavier damage. It's not deep by any means. Any beans? But like the bean shirt man from Disaster Report 4, I fucking love it either way. It's simply so damn fat. And beefy. Yeah, sure, the grinding could look janky and juddery, but that makes it all the more cathartic to do too, just like how the awkward and slow movement makes successfully staving away a special attack radius all the more rewarding. There's a real tension to it, an Armored Core-esque overcoming of machine-like struggle. Coming out as the big strong victor, having literally crushed the competition into a smoking pile of detonating shit. It's great, it works, it is what it is, it's battle, construction, vehicles.
What a heap of junk! The controls on this thing suck!
So everyone in Japan is British.
Shut it, Gramps!
The story is formatted like an anime, every chapter an episode, and every episode a new opponent / situation / problem to solve. They're all pretty short, lasting mere minutes at most, but it keeps the pacing very consistently very entertaining. My friend Coffee Cakes recently did a video on some gay shit in which he highlighted a Bara visual novel about big gay bears and yeah, this reminds me of that. The art style is very similar for a start. A lot of big beefy dudes doing dumb himbo shit and having very bromantic brawls in relationship with one another. Arguments settled by way of grindfests. But also there's Beth, a big blubbery baby with a elaborate romantic subplot involving Jake Hongo. This is so good. I love how dumb the story gets, or is, rather. Taking on a rivaling, all-controlling giant construction corporation, not through any sort of business moves. Nah, just straight up crush everyone. Recruit legendary construction men's and revive the Congo name. Not for honor, but for
Gramps!
just the sheer baller swag required to muscle up on a business deal with some regular-ass salary suit shaking shit, starting the process of a new building being built, only to then, on the spot, blackmail the motherfuckers with Polaroids of them out drinking at a hostess bar. And that namby-pamby contracts bullshit. Of course, they're gonna be like, do you want money? And then Congo's all like, nah, bitch, I just want to ram my fucking digger into your bulldozer, which then of course gets him the job, as these are simply the rules of the site. Congo's the type of guy to bet human lives in a construction battle. Congo's the type of guy who's constantly really horny but also sexist against all the women he does meet. Congo's the type of guy to be really fucking stupid at all times, repeatedly getting goaded and tricked into garbage. This story has twists, subplots, daring reveals, a lovable cast, mysterious intrigue, and the distillation of pure and raw himbo energy. And really, that's all a fighting game has to be honest. Oh shit. Epic rivals? Yo, what? Motherfucker just angeled. Tekken 2 style. Oh fuck, gold. Oh fuck, golden sword. Oh fuck. Oh shit. Yo, it's fucking anime time. Let's go.
D-xhird.
Yeah? Is that what we're rolling with? I think I'm gonna go with d-xhird instead, as the swag on d-xhird is goddamn legit. Cover art metallic, glistening, gleaming, manual detail, boy, disc, blue and shiny. This game fucking radiates opulence. All of these character designs are golden. Everybody got that Bishi face reminiscing me of Rose of Versailles, which is always a good thing to think about. We got boys with dangly earrings. We got dashing vampiric dudes. We got women's with dangly earrings. We got cool glasses guy. And we got motherfucking Karen.
battle. Go, fight!
Sadly, d-xhird is also a sneaky Toshinden. It's made by Enixed, who made the Saturn Toshindens that I have yet to get to. Therefore, it plays basically exactly like Toshinden 2, aka like Toshinden 1. Oh, okay, no, that's unfair. It's quite a decent amount quicker, actually, and the animations aren't as stank looking, so the inherent feel and kinesthetical feedback is nicer. More scope on your hits and, what exactly is happening. But it does have the same shoulder button sidestepping and the same stilted movement, though the sound effects are fucking great. Really crunchy and loud. Got some fat bassy heft to them. It's also from 97, so I suppose I can cut it some slack in that sense too. This is defo closer to Star Gladiator or Dynasty Warriors than it actually is to Battle Arena Toshinden, despite clearly sharing hella DNA. Possibly code. Animation rigging? Who knows? I like it though. Maybe it's because the Saturn controller is a fucking godsend compared to the PS1's finger fucking cramp central demon spawn. Dog, that D-pad is harsh. And the Saturn controller has those nice big clicky buttons that add kinesthetics on their own, being that these shits feel nice to press even when you ain't playing nothing. But also just because it's a dumb, loud, pretty game where I get to swing my golden sword around while being a dashing 80s anime-looking bishi boy with dangly earrings.
Stop.
Doesn't have much in the way of mechanics, I suppose. There's a guard gauge limiting your guard age, which I can imagine adds some strategy. Imagine, because against the AI it didn't really, but in theory is when it does deplete your weapon breaks wholesale, thus changing your moveset. Which is certainly something I don't think I've ever seen before, and it also plays with the sidestepping better than Toshinden ever did. It's like a swift dodge now, and contributes to the anime coolness of it all. If there's one thing I'd have to complain about, it's the damage outputs being low as fuck, which can cause fights to drag on. But otherwise, it's got ching for days, and is pretty much the type of game I would have gone bonkers for if I'd had seen it at a friend's house back in the day, as, to be honest, that still worked on me even now. Because dog dang, I love this game's style. The faded color palette, the fonts and UI and their metallic properties. We have a twisted main character with a dark and evil side a la Kazuya and Jin. But it's all prettier, more anime. Big, beautiful castles set atop deep pastel forests. Gray graveyards with grass tufts a-blowin' and music that's always one step away from becoming a full-on 80s anime OP. I'm thinking it may have actually taken cues from Tekken 2 too, cause Venus is literally Angel being the only motherfucker who can fly up and shoot projectiles just like her. There's even a devil man to boot, but this one has a cool Greek robe sort of situation going on with great golden belts and buckles. Boo-era Toriyama type beat. It sadly doesn't have much in the way of FMVs in its story mode, but there are some really sleek slideshows over the credits with plenty of dramatic energy that give off the impression that there's lore hidden away here. A tortured, pretty, and torn asunder cast with dark anime undertones. Clearly, shits was given as one can gauge from the art for them in the options menu, but yeah, d-xhird is a cooler Tekken 2 and a fun battle arena Toshinden. I guess Sega really did what PlayStation? 3 Saturn games is what I bought in the corporeal for this bitch. Penis Pain being the first and Fist being the second. Which ain't truly all that mysterious if I'm honest. It's a neat little Virtua Fighter clone with adorable low poly anime bitches, and it's also moony as fuck. There's 3 buttons and one of them blocks just like VF, only nowhere near as fluid. So it's a teensy bit basic perhaps, but fun to mash buttons in for 30 minutes or so. Hell yeah. Its standout feature is that the back of the box is heavily promoting its pop idol voiceover talent. I think it's more of a gimmick than anything substantially relevant to the game, though, as the front of the case says, when you play Two Fists, you just can't stop that heart from pounding. Words to live by, for sure. And the third game is Gyoiken Muyo Anarchy in the Nippon, a title about salarymen, housewives, school children, and a variety of other everyday Japanese people going fucking goblin mode out in the streets. During clear daylight, too. Wow. Now, seeing the UI, you may be thinking, because this is basically just Virtua Fighter 2. It's made by the team who did the Saturn conversion of it after all, simply having some fun with the engine that they had left. This also means that it plays like VF2 so fucking incredibly. Legit, if Tekken 3 wasn't such a big eclipsing sales juggernaut, I easily could have seen VF2 being the flag bearer of how 3D Fighter should have played instead. With this game, however, it's very funny to see these suit and tie bumble bitch motherfuckers just bust out killer combos like it ain't shit. I honestly wouldn't have even been against this title playing worse on purpose, or even just downright awfully due to the sheer nature of whomst you're playing as. And there is a tiny little bit of that with how the salaryman kicks, for example, or characters falling over mid-combo, or funny goofy shit like being able to knock the toupee off a dude. But I'm not gonna say no to more Virtua Fighter 2. It's just so fast, so kinetic, yet playful and loose. Flurries of fists flow like wine as kicks link and connect kinetically into shotgun bursts of punches, runs and throws, and steamy stormin' battery rams of combos. Old lady pulling some Eddie Gordo shit.
Round 1. Fight!
There's also a certified sample pack moment.
Round 1. Fight!
Tekken 3's OST, you see, heavily uses a riff pack. I'm not familiar with which one, but it's always very funny to see it crop up in the wild, especially like this. Either way though, Anarchy in the Nippon is good. And, by the way, Fist comes with a tiny baby CD that boasts some bussin' tunes. This whole aesthetic is Cum City legit, as we got Cum City, great skyline, amazing color choices all round, overall, and across the board, and the OST goes way harder than it has any right to. So, in summation, the Sega Saturn may not have had the sheer volume of fighting games as the PS1 did, but it does have Anime Uno and a game called Universal Nuts. And I also meant what I said earlier. Tekken 3 hit the PS1 in '98, but VF2 was already on Saturn in 1955. Of course, blah 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 bullshit about history remembering the winners or whatever shitfuck toxic garbage. That's probably sadly true, if only because a lot of history is written by dudes. And the PS1 simply sold much better, and so did Tekken. And Tekken 3 is legit one of my all-time favorite games, but goddamn man, Vert 2 plays so fucking well. While Capcom was still bumblefucking about with Star Gladiator and the PS1 was getting hit with Toshinden and Killing Zone, Sega had not only invented the wheel, they built a goddamn Ferrari. See? VF2 has less personality than Tekken, perhaps, but even to that, Sega sorta retorted with Fighting Vipers, hitting arcades that very same year, and the Saturn 1 year later. Bringing metal guitars, cock rock character designs, roller derby girls, and fucking Jotaro from JoJo. There's, for sure, an alternate timeline where these games would be the defining lens that titles like Kensei got compared to. We will defo be seeing more Saturn later on in this video, and more PS1. But for now, here's some more fucking names. Tobal number 1 is as floaty as fucking molasses, boasting buttery smooth moon movements that feel just that smidge too slow for what they is. Oh, I suppose that beats being stiff. Tekken 1 or Killing Zone, now that stuff's stiff. Joints needing oil, walking with legs that appear not to have knees, mannequin models, wow! I've mentioned it hellily over the course of this video, but I think now it's finally time to settle the score. Let's figure out which is the stiffest fighter! Dragon Ball GT versus Ultimate Battle 22 versus Battle Arena Toshinden, Round 1. How easy is it to chain hits / do combos? So here's something that would instantly disqualify Tekken 1, for example. You see, wooden as that game is, kinesthetically, it at least gives off the idea that every single one-off attack is intended to be followed up somehow. Like how, say, at the end of an uppercut or a sweeping kick, the model might face or position itself in a suggestive fashion. It has a naturally intuitable flow is what I'm trying to get at here, which doesn't go for any of these chuckle fucks. Toshinden defo comes out as best here. Or is that worse? Most of its moves tend to come with a hint of bounce that begs to be built off of. Provided you can even see that shit while the camera's sucking its own ass, but I still vastly prefer that to GT, where every combo is akin to a little cutscene and every individual strike is noticeably delayed, thus ensuring that following any kick or punch up with any kick or punch is a no-go. On the upside, stun locking is my ultimate move! There ain't no invincibilities, and the cooldowns on certain attacks or the animations that play when getting knocked back take more than long enough to be taken advantage of. Which is kind of a combo, but naturally it can also be turned against you. UB22 though has an antidote to this, which is fucking ice skating physics. Everyone's slipping and sliding towards each other while kicking and punching, wholly detached from whatever animations it's paired up with, which is fun and funny as fuck, but also sucks to be sliding away from your target all the goddamn time. Catch Zarbon over here being pushed back by his own kicks. It's wacky, but it does prevent the prior mentioned stun locking, so good design. A bigger issue in GT than just the stun locking is all of the bullshit mini mechanics it doesn't explain to you at all. It has systems for countering beams with beam struggles. It has this thing called Meteor, aka Punch Fast Mini Much. However, now and although, the key thing here is that these are actually very simple systems. A Meteor can be engaged by hitting R2 when knocking someone back with a camera cut, and to beam you just have to hit a face button when it flashes the counter in the corner, and it's very susceptible to preemptive button mashing, so you don't even have to time shit. It's just the fact that it is R2 and not any of the buttons you'd ever use otherwise, or the idea that you can mash the wrong button just as well or at the wrong time, it makes it all very difficult to suss out or intuit in any capacity. And then, when you pile upon the delayedness of everything, the player's whole sense of control becomes obstructed because none of their inputs appear to relate to anything that's going on screen. Like I said, whenever you do manage a combo, it'll play as a little cutscene. Can't be altered, engaged with, or interrupted. There's no flow or fluidity to it. It's rigid as heck and decouples itself from the rest of the experience. It kind of fucking sucks ass, if I'm honest. So much so that it makes Ultimate Battle 22 look good. And that game has fucking moves that looks as if motherfuckers is wearing iron boxer shorts. Whittle footsies only barely making it out there. But hey, it is responsive. Even if it's very individual kicks and punches, there are at least kicks and punches that can be followed up from pretty reliably. 22 looks a lot stiffer than it is, honestly. I'd point the blame at the animation cells. Sure, I have no way of knowing if these were drawn up for it proper or not, but the inconsistencies between them with size or whether or not an animation even fits a move or not make me believe that they likely reused whatever they could from the anime. On paper, that probably sounded like a cool plan, but it makes things more than a little bit goofy. And Toshinden, it's a janky piece of shit for sure. Sophia's standing up animation is by far the most perfect way to visualize this because she got the mannequin joints. Legs like planks, juddering out forward with no real sense of momentum or motion to them. Again, linking it back to Tekken, which is one of its closest contemporaries, a big kick doubles as a lunge, a proper offensive move, a battering ram, mobilizing, projectile propelling, and other such comparisons. But in BAT, when kicking, the model stays exactly in its place, and that stilts the whole game up. That said, it and 22 are both better off than GT, as they at least have combos, so Final Bout wins this round. Oh!
Round 2.
Schmovement. In Ultimate Battle, the maneuverage is good. It's fast, does what you think it would. Flying's a little funny, but generally you can hit and reach each other very reliably. In GT, on the other hand, Goku's growing goddamn roots into the ground because he's fucking turles now, constantly feeling as if I'm trying to break away from something, merely juddering about a bit. The suggestion of movement, but the movement never comes, pretty much. Now, if one can manage it, there is a fly dash, which bridges gaps decently fast, but also the flight is fucking, as aligning each other in the air is incredibly awkward. In Toshinden, the stiff animation work hampers the movement in a similar manner. Technically, you can be pretty quick as it has running, though Like, look at Mondo's run cycle. He's fucking stepping, blasting off legibly, but motionally barely moving an inch. As said, its movement is defo nowhere near as bad as it is in GT. If I press right on the D-pad, my character will, more or less instantly, move right. It's a low bar, but it's a bar it reaches. What does add stillness, I guess, is the turnarounds. A little animation that plays to show your character turning around, which looks neat enough, but you can't do shit while it happens, which when mixed up with the moon jumps that can often put a bitch behind you or the dumb as fuck rolling the 3Dest shit out of this game still results in a plethora of very unresponsive moments. And yet, that's still nothing compared to Final Bout, thus taking the cake of loss promptly.
Round 3.
How long do battle take? Oh shit, there he is.
You were too overconfident. Let me show you to your defeat.
Super baby. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Baby? Hello? Baby? Baby? Hello? God damn it, baby. A large part of these games, honestly, is simply down to how slow the goings go in general. Damage outputs being low is key, but it's also often a cumulative effort of the prior two bouts. If you can't move or hit more than once per minute, let alone reach each other to begin with, then yeah, that's gonna drag things on quite a lot. Luckily, GT has one round, which is one round too many. Double layered health bars with even Kamehamehas and spirit bombs only chipping away a mere pip, and while the stun locking can make fights go by very quickly in comparison, that's where the culmination crashes in. Thing is that there's so many long-winded waits for falls. So much missing, so much time wasted on repeated animations and tons of feeling stuck in the mud, that it is a very uniquely frustrating game in that regard. 22 also only has one blessed round, but also 2 health bars too. However, given that the speed overall is plenty quicker, the fights actually only last a reasonable amount. It's not like Toshinden, where it's difficult to even hit each other in the first place, not only due to the camera going diagonal mode because of the rolling, but also because said rolling appears to have infinite iframes. Add to that the fact that these shits can also shift the invisible axis of attack as well as the turnarounds of prior movements mentions, and you end up with an experience where one may very well be out there hitting the air more so than whoever it is that you're actually fighting. And this fucking game does have 2 rounds, so we are goddamn dragging. Especially with the almost farcical millimeter-esque damage outputs of certain attacks, it is some shit. GT at least has the stun locking. Toshinden takes the dub of this round's L.
Final round. Chicken.
Ultimate Battle 22 is legitimately too responsive. Too playable. Fucking disgusting! So that's off the docket, and I don't even know what the fuck a docket is. In retrospect, maybe Killing Zone would have been a better pick, because even it being in 3D is debatable. The camera does spin and the environment's 3D, but the line, as it were, between characters never changes. Essentially tricking the player into thinking that it's 3D. Though, yeah, I just kinda like 22, it's cute. In a vacuum, it's probably pretty crusty, but put side by side Toshinden and GT, it's mostly fine, just old. Also, could we take a moment to appreciate these crowds for a sec? Because you can see the goddamn seam and the weird, like, chromatic aberration TV or VHS screenshotting as artifacting. How lovely. I adore the stage aesthetics in general. The photorealistic tree textures on Kami's Lookout, for example, give off a strong Windows 95 landscaping software vibe, which is great. And while Toshinden is just as ancient, and I like its gaudy programmer art and UI, I also can't stomach it for more than an hour. It doesn't at least fill me with pure rage and frustration in the manner that GT does. This shit's a fucking accomplishment, man, I swear to God. Goddamn game came out the same year as Tekken 3, and yet here it is playing worse than 1. To cut it some slack, with all the camera cutaways and shit, I get the impression that they perhaps wanted to make something more cinematic, capturing the show on some level, but then, I don't know, some code mishaps maybe. As far as I can tell, it was Tosei's first 3D fighter, if not their first 3D game in general, and defo their first PS1 game, and Tosei is pretty great. Worked on everything from Metal Gear Ghost Babel to Resident Evil Survivor and Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns, so I'm guessing that first time oopsies are likely to be at play here, and where I can be sympathetic towards that, I do also sort of hate actually playing Dragon Ball GT. And I know, I get it. I get what you're thinking. I too have very fond nostalgic memories of Vegeta baby. But playing Final Bout now hurts me on a spiritual level. It renders my soul asunder. And thus, Dragon Ball GT wins the title of the most stiffest 3D fighter.
Finished already? I was only playing.
Very cool, Goku. Almost as cool as the Dragon Ball GT chess set. Dragon Ball GT chess set. Heck gosh dang, dag nabbin, fuck babbin, skirt dabbin, toshinden though. What a game. What a series. It's got a whole bunch of sequels. Unlike the transition from Tekken 1 to 2, however, Toshinden 2 isn't much better. Looks nicer, I suppose. Has a smidge more flair and style to its environments and cast, but if there is any gameplay upgrades or dates, I sure as shit ain't seeing them. Perhaps then this is why not Tamsoft, but instead Nextech of d-xhird fame made a weird remake, port, totally different game version of 2 called Battle Arena Toshinden Aura, adorably localized as Ultimate Revenge Attack for the Sega Saturn, and yeah, it's barely even the same series in some aspects. I mean, it has Toshinden's cast and their movesets have survived, but it's so like runny and jumpy now. That bounce, what I mentioned earlier, has become a full-on spring set. Seeing motherfuckers fuck up and off all over the shop, it's fast, it's freaky, still janky as shit, but I quite like it a lot. Comes across to me as a more deliberate attempt to hone in on the stupid over-the-topness that Toshinden had from the jump. More flashy, more gaudy, clashing colors, more stupid high jumping, more loud guitar shredding, and more mashing buttons to make fun fuck shit happen while everyone is running circles around each other. Almost as if a proto-anime arena fighter. No. Shut up! What gets me though, and you've probably already been seeing it too, is what the fuck is up with the perspective on these backgrounds? Like, they just don't align. This ice stage here, the render is sort of top view-y. Like, this could be a drone shot, but the platform the fighting takes place on is framed from a lower angle. Same with these girders being way too big to be that far and way too far to look this close. Such a freak-ass fucking game. I love this. So, good for me then that this anime freakness would continue in 3, which goes full, whole, and wild hog. Goddamn anime boy with the hair and the raincoat and a fucking chainsaw. We even got 10 count, the coolest OC. Do not steal. That's a baller-ass name though for a baller-ass game though. Made by Tamsoft once again, Toshinden 3 overhauls everything once again. You see, the bounce-turned spring set has gone proper bouncy castle this time around. There's physics, there's walls and ceilings, and a brand new heavily advertised in-game combo and juggling system, with the former informing the latter, letting the player bounce bitches up, off, and into them a la Sonic the Fighters. Only Sonic had very basic attacks, universal across its entire cast, and T3's got hella cool, flashy, loud, and over-the-top killer combos. It's still jank and stiff though, certainly. That same old Tamsoft jitter animation work done been accounted for, don't you worry, but it also has a violently aggressive flow and fluidity, being that the speed is up on steroids now. Not cause damage is any higher, it is solely and simply based on how fast you move. Proper berserker mode shit, smashing people into the fucking ceiling, keeping them suspended with chainsaw change accompanied by fat as fuck, loud as dick, fuck off sound effects. Narrowed down the rounds to 1, 2, so now there's this blazing pace to the whole arcade mode experience that even weaponizes the stiffness. Thing is that there's a noticeable snap to every animation that lends an immediacy to the player's inputs. It feels a lot better to play than it looks, trust me, and I like how it looks. This shit is like a protest. Guns, ammos, broken invisible projectiles, health bars at the bottom going garish mode, enclosed areas, character designs that out-cool and out-crazy all of the competition. They put goddamn Catwoman up in this bitch, and MJ, and Jason, and Tatsunoko, man, all with zero regard for copyright law. And they're straight up a golden woman, and attacks so flashy that they require an epilepsy warning. It's doing everything a fighting game shouldn't be doing, or shit that people with cowardly tendencies such as restraint would shy away from, and goddamn getting away with it. Suppose this is Tamsoft, who would go on to make the One-Chanbara series, which I mean, look at it. Restraint is not in their vocabulary, but they had to build up to that too, and Toshinden 3 seems to me like one bold, beautifully gaudy step in that direction. Bless this game.
Mother!
Mother. Man, you got this cool looking dude. Why do you have to make him such a little bitch? Then there's Toshinden 4, which is more like a reboot than anything. New cast, new cuter style, no more battle arena, and a sad, sad loss of gaudiness. I like the pig though. That's a good pig. Regrettably, the bouncy castle done inflated and left the 3-style combat as a similarly limper leftover down to drown away underwater. I'm not a fan of how this plays, but the story additions are cute. And then finally, the final Toshinden is defo also more of a reboot than anything, as it totally is, as it ain't anything like the others. Made by Dream Factory of Tobal Urguys and the Bouncer fame, Toshinden for the Nintendo Wii is a anime arena fighter, very potentially cynically a lot like all anime arena fighters, which... No! We can't open that door. Talking arena fighters, it would be too much. I mean, I like him. The JoJo one's neat, but there's too many. I couldn't possibly bloat this video anymore. No! The door must stay closed! Toshinden runs through this video like a janky river. Alabala Burn and d-xhird were its children. Dream Factory of Wii will go on to be a future topic later on, and it set down a standard for many comparisons. A standard that was a bar so low that even Earthworm Jim made it into the PC port of 1, who is also in Clay Fighter, by the way. It's all connected.
Fuck, shit! No, you vile demon! Stay back! Stay the fuck back!
Oh, dog. Holy shit. Oh, god damn it. Okay, one game made it out, I guess. Let's see. Oh no. It's Jump Force! Oh man. Oh god. Why do you gotta look like that though? Goku, please, save me. Hell yeah, Goku. Hell yeah. Why's Luffy look like a goddamn heroin addict on the box art? Sweaty Frieza, who is gooning up the place, one-shotting your human asshole cause of Parmesan Goku dodging his laser, upon which Trunks shoves a cube up you to turn you into a monstrosity such as himself. Thing is that they're part of the Shonen Jump manga resistance force. They're from Book World, but you're from Human World, and said gooning was happening in Human World. This is bad. Not just cause you wouldn't necessarily want a Frieza in IRL, but also because this is why they all look like that. I'll be real with you though, I ain't gonna hate on it. It's funny. Disturbing, yes, but I don't think I'd care to pick up specifically this one out of literally a sea of samey anime arena fighters if it didn't look so goddamn cursed. Remember, this is mysterious 3D fighters, not your dad's 3D fighters. Whatever that means. Either way, the Resistance base is more or less a little RPG town hub, with shops, cozy, funky disco music, and these freaks that can all be talked to, including things like Naruto getting bullied for being a dumbass, or Trunks always wanting to help, and Vegeta getting cucked, and Light clearly having evil plans that fully whoosh right over Goku. The characters it uses very much in accordance with who they are. Sadly, Bobobo is not present. When I played Ultimate Stars, my one mission was to Bobis, but I never got to, and now he is robbed from me entirely. This is an injustice, a slighting, and a crime, and not one of the cool ones. Can't stay mad though, because quite frankly, the kinesthetics are downright incredible. It's weird coming from so many old games, because, I mean, in Toshinden 3, the screen shaking with big hits is kind of a big deal. They thought to do that, to give the game feel more impact. But with Jump Force, so much as such has preceded it that's more or less expected. So I could list all the tricks I observed the game to explain what it's doing, but I mean, it's just doing it. Standard issue shit. Same way that it handles like just about all arena fighters do now too. Just like JoJo did, or like the shortcuts in Kingdom Hearts, i.e. menus correlating to buttons that have attacks. It's either the JRPG-ification of a fighter, or the fighter-ification of a JRPG, depending on how you look at it. Early arena fighters like Urgai's and Bushido Blade both came from Square after all, and Dragon Ball games have also always straddled that line, so it's really a genre that came up out of both in equal measure. Oh my god. On PS5, Jump Force uses those unturn-offable gameplay recording things so much that the messages start to overlap. Sony, come on, just let me turn it off. As one of the 7 PS5 owners on Earth. Please! In most cases, as with this one, the bigger beef with these types of games isn't necessarily with the baseline combat as it is with all characters ostensibly playing the same. Here, we have 4 distinct character types. Heavy hitters, fast hitters, rangy hitters, and fancy hitters, and the whole roster will fall into these. And yeah, the animations for Jotaro will be different than the ones for Yugi, and it's not like it doesn't have some cool features. There's team attacks with timed character switching, you can go super mode, there's variables depending on bars or wens, and it has cool dodging and countering mechanics, stuff that would be cool in, say, a 3D beat 'em up on PS2, but maybe isn't the most engaging when that's spread and pasted across a huge cast of characters that all use the same inputs. There's not really any individual combos per se, move lists, none of that. Obviously, those differing animations can result in varying feels, which they do, but that's also all it'll do. So, I can imagine that as a game to play a bunch online, this could grow boring quicker than most actual fighters would, as even the story mode got a hint too repetitive for my tastes. But for a okayly paced 13-hour long thing, I certainly had my fun with it. Hell, I can't even hate on the aesthetic. I think the stages look great. I love its use of heavy, bold colors and shit like the Statue of Liberty being on planet Namek, or the swaying of the trees in France. And the scale and playing feels of it all, in my opinion, genuinely add loads to the fun of the fighting. It's not a cheap-seeming game in either case, nor do I think it being dumb is at all an issue. I mean, there's a subset of fighting games which I think I can best label as slamming your action figures together. Toshinden 2 is definitely that. BCV is that, but for toy construction vehicles. The DBZ Tenkaichi games do this, but for Dragon Ball, and I'd say Jump Force very neatly fits into that too. It's just a bunch of manga motherfuckers dumped into a setting with a stupid but fun story and simple but hard and blunt gameplay, yelling and blasting at one another. And I'm not nearly elitist enough to see that as something worth making fun of. I dig the costumes, and I enjoy seeing these manga monstrosities getting up to all manner of fanficky interactions. It truly dares to make one think about the proper potential of the crossover fighter. Is it balanced? Fuck no. Does it run well? Hell nah. But is it a loud, fast, all-out flailing your arms and legs about, smashing your action figures together, good geeking out great time? Absolutely. This fighter's Mega Mix, bitch. And it doesn't so much highlight the lore/character-based potential of a crossover, no one interacts nothing, and it's much more Mugen-esque in its blaseness. Nor does it at all come across as cynically fanservice-y either. No lame reveals to invoke Pog moments, no misplaced or overly bigged up gravity to its inclusions, no potentially alienating deep-cut references. Nah, this game is simply having fun. Came about through a series of fuckabouts and tests with Fighting Viper's Virtua Fighter 2 and Sonic the Fighters, making Yuji Naka laugh by seeing Sonic get his ass beat and going bonkers with the VF2 engine, making it do shit it wasn't really designed to. AM2 themselves later described it as a festive title to celebrate the Sega Saturn. There's nothing cynical about Megamix. It has fun coded into its very DNA, and so, to me, it's as good as a crossover can be and will be used as a bar to view the others through thusly. Like, fucking All-Star Fighters for the PS2. Look, there he is. Earth Defense Force with a C instead of an S. Fuck yeah. My boy, my guy, my dude. They also got Bazuma Biryu from the hit game Yakuza Fury. I may very well be one of 2 people who would know this, just like how I know about the Dragon Sisters. By damn soft. And Big Woman from the classic PS2 game Big Woman. You see, the thing is right here is that this is a simple series fighter. All the low-budget bitches, homies, and heroes from various trashy games that released in Japan and Europe but barely in America for y'all simply ain't cool enough. You guys may have gotten all Xenosaga games, but we got Legends. Huh. That was weird. Whee! It's party time! I was truly unready for this to have such a breathtakingly intense story mode. Your sword is a chunk of iron, slaughtering around with that cute smile. Jeez. This is a spiritual sword to fight with demons. People need high intellect to use this weapon. Ah, I see. It's a sword in the Petersonian sense. It's a Street Fighter EX-like. I'm not gonna pretend I know the Street Fighter series well at all, but contextually it's similar to that, just lame. Teensy bit on the stiff side, worse sound effects, you ain't got no dash. Has a very stationary, stuck-in-place type of vibe to its fighting as well, but it's honestly not too bad, as it does have a very snappy immediacy going on. Moves are breakable, so combats can be maintained effectively, has a counter for him even, and there's also these bars of which I do not know the function. Wait, actually, I should have the manual, hold on. Okay, number 5.
Quantità riserva impatto. Le due quantità mostrate in fondo alla schermata sono il quantità.
Yeah, so I have no idea what I just read, but that's what it do. It's decent though. Not a lot I can muster up to say about it other than that some characters have some rather Mugen-y movesets. Probably the most baffling thing regarding All-Stars is that it was made by a studio who typically only make assets for other games. Anything from RE6 to Persona 2, which I guess explain why it does look pretty nice. Does what many modern AA games do and puts these thick outlines around its models without going all in on shell shading. It can come across as cheap, but with these Dreamcast-ily textured models, I think it works out. Pretty backgrounds too, with a surprising amount of detail and clever use of 2D elements. As far as the crossoverness goes, however, it's basically made up out of shit no one knows about. For example, this traditional Japanese garden area might look pretty innocuous to a plebeian, but I know that this is actually a location from Yakuza Fury. Yeah, was a POG recognition moment for me for sure. 3D crossover fighters though. What else is there? Most of them seem to be 2D. Hell, All-Star Fighters is already cheating as you can actually sidestep. I guess there's Urguys that has several Final Fantasy VII folks in it and has a dude related to the Mishimas from Tekken. But I've talked about Urguys loads before in tons of other videos. Remember when I said that Capcom was failing with making a proper 3D fighter? Well, that's still kinda held true on PS1, as they tried to make Capcom Fighting All-Stars, a sidesteppin'-ass fighter boasting a plethorage of Capcom-age. Though tried is a pretty big stickler here, being that it never finished. Even having Arika co-dev it didn't seem to help it any either. Sad. And dog, holy shit. Dream Mix TV World Fighters, a GameCube game'n containing Solid Snake, Megatron, Bombomeng, the kid from Beyblade, Moai Head, and the dude from Bloody Roar. A series that I have now mentioned, so shut up. I love it though, it's a very unique game. I just couldn't find a good way to squeeze it into this video until now, and it's not exactly unknown either, but yeah, there you go. Bloody Roar is cool. A PlayStation All-Stars-like by Hudson and Red Entertainment, the latter being primarily known for making oddball B and spin-offy games like Gungrave VR, Nude, and Nostalgia. Big curio indeed. Anyway, everybody got coins in him, and you beat the coins out of him to insert them into the self. They who hast the mostest coins shall fillest up the coinest bar, thusest winneth the match. 'Tis a rather slow-feeling game, however, basic 3-hit combos a la 2D beat-em-up, and not exactly the smoothest movement. Sure, there's some very impressive juggling, stages as walled in and bitches will bounce the heck back off of them. It's just that me playing this on my own is not really the intended experience. This is a all forts plugged up and booted type of game, you see. Total mayhem and chaos with hardcoin viscera spewing out akin to cartoon gore. But when it's only the base combat 1-to-1 under a loop, it's not exactly as exciting as its presentation would like you to think. Which is cute. Wacky story with TV hosts and some fun stages like this one right here, fucking riding on a train though. Could you even call this a 3D fighter? The plane's 2D, so platform fighter? Is that what this is? I don't know. Yeah, okay, that's my tastes. Anyway. Wait. Huh? Disc benefits. Oh. Oh my god, dog, Sony. The PS5 recording pop-ups was bad enough. Why you gotta give me fucking PS3 updates in 2022? I mean, I called DreamCast a PlayStation All-Stars like earlier, and not just because that's funny, but also because it's not about knocking people out of the stage, which it has in common with it. All-Stars has directional combos, juggling, specials, a oddly in-depth throwing system linked to the right analog and stage timers, with which the player has to rack up the biggest kill score by being the least killedest and the most killerest guy. And one executes set killing with specials that build up as you combo. It's a fun loop, but I dig it. Really incentivizes playing aggressively, but also necessitates knowing when to stay the heck away in accordance with either the time or the others of special bars. And there's simply something profound about Raiden performing as Ondatsu on Sackchild, you know? Though I will say I'm not a fan at all of the overall art style. It's got no pizzazz, no flair. Yeah, sure, Raiden's grimdark PowerPoint presentation is very fucking funny, and I like how the levels play out as if little set pieces and stories, but motherfucker, goddamn this fucking UI. These menus. Ugh. This fucking placeholder press start font. Ugly. Also, when you Google image search this bitch, you find 0 screenshots of the actual game and only fan roster edits. I'm not one to usually ever side with the gamers, but I do think that that's pretty fucking telling of how folks felt about this thing. Dang. Nice edit, bro. Anyway, yeah, that's the crossovers. Ain't all that much of them in 3D. It's more of a 2D fighter's lane, I guess. But hey, at least I got to smack Nathan Drake with a giant fish. When Square Enixed, they annexed 2 studios making fighters under soft when they went even softer and became micro. In corner number 1, we have Bukkake Warriors. Lightweight is a studio primarily known for making old-timey Japan games, never quite being owned by Square, but striking up a deal with them to release their first title, Bushido Blade. A quiet, realistic, methodical fighter in which one strike could mean death. The sound design is incredible. The crunchy footstep sounds salaciously satisfying of movement. The blowing of the winds, the singing of birds, the running of water, punctuated only by the classic sounds of clashing blades. The latter half of the 90s had a type of trend where games started having cinematic qualities without explicitly taking after movies through cutscenes. Aconcagua, cinematic platformers, Half-Life 1, games using presentation, event triggers, or sound design to instill a deeply immersive atmosphere, and Bushido Blade is the fighting game equivalent of that. Playing it is fun, not just because it feels good to play, or because of the tactical footsies and strikeages, but also because it is much as if directing your own highly choreographed swordplay scene from an old samurai movie. With a tension so thick, one could cut it with a katana. They also made a sequel, which is less of the same. Yes, the OG isn't exactly something one can expand upon without fundamentally shifting the appeal. Even its presentation was super stark and simple. Gray screen, red font, Bushido Blade. Nothing can be added to this to make it more of what it already was, so I don't think it was that surprising that its sequel came across as a little meh in comparison. It's louder, bit crazier, edgier, darker, guitar shredge, smoother controls, heavier impacts, things that in most other games would be cool, but take a lot of the methodicality out of it in this case. It's arcadier and faster, which I don't dislike at all. It still has the same game in there for the most part, but overall it appears to me as if less focused. I mean, one tastefully left the VA in Japanese, which...
Alright, who's next?
Hokioku Tsubame. Have you heard of the name?
Is this fighting vipers now?
This is the end of the road for you.
Oh yeah, buddy. Hell yeah.
Well, I don't recognize you from the dojo, but I've been pretty busy at the fish market lately. When did you join?
Oh, a long time ago, but I don't get down there much. I got my own rhythm.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge pro Enduminer, but there's a time and a place for dumb, and I don't think Bushido Blade 2 is necessarily the one.
Are you trying to unleash the Shinto's grudge with the Yugiri? Ugh!
Yeah, I'm not precisely sure what happened, to be honest. In '98, the same year as the release of 2, Lightweight cut its ties with Square, appointed a new CEO, and only a month after that happened, had Genki buy out a 40% stake in the company, continuing the Bushido Blade series under the banner Kengo. I guess they were simply wooed by their amazing logo. It only makes sense. Especially because in 2001, Genki bought them outright, upon which they dropped Kabuki Warriors for the original Xbox. And in corner number 2, we have the controversial, nearly banned, back alley and sweaty Kakuto Chojin! Tekken 1's AI has a rather interestingly reactionary vibe about it, where it'll only do shit due to you doing shit. If you high kick, it ducks. If you try to grab and fail, they'll try to grab you next, even though they never grab much otherwise. This was probably just the easiest way for them to code stuff at the time, but it results in the feel of fighting someone who's constantly mock-copying you, but also able to read your mind, kinda. Like, it reacts to your inputs faster than the animations resulting from said inputs can actually play out. It's funny, but it also gives me a sensation along the lines of, Ooh, Seiichi Ishii though. Mans directed and designed Virtua Fighter 1, then moved on to Namco where he did the first 2 Tekkens and then formed his own studio called Dream Factory, partnered up with Square and dropped upon us the Tobal. A smooth as fuck, 3D as shit fighting game, which maybe that was his vision the whole time. Cause, I mean, VF and Tekken is still being tied to the 2D ties of Street Fighter's past, slowly edging his way on over to full 3D. Sped it the heck up in the excellent Tobal 2 and then embraced it fully in the arena-esque Urguys, which I think, looking at it now through the context I established ages ago in this video, is Square's vision of sidestepping Tekken 3. The Tobals were still directly competitive with it, but Urguys, despite literal nods to Tekken, is trying to weird it out because it can't do it out. Still has those smooth flowing combos though, which would also be moved to the proper 3D beat-em-up.
The Bouncer.
You see, both Tobals and Urguys had a very lavishly decked out RPG mode, all being a smidge too awkward in their own way, but clearly very deliberate attempts to take their complex combat systems and turn them towards a adventure. It's something consistent enough that I do think it was part of some type of goal or vision for the studio, being that even far past post-Square they dropped a game called Crimson Tears, which was literally just Urguys' RPG mode, the game. However, perhaps it was due to Square floundering and merging in the early 2000s, or maybe it was because Nomura and Square were much more hands-on involved with the Bouncer's development, thus not letting him make shit more independently. Who knows? But right around the time that things would go really bad, Dream Factory partnered up with Microsoft and came out swinging with Kakuto Chojin Back Alley Brutal. And now it's time for the final showdown. Kakuto versus Kabuki. Let's get ready to rumble! Kengo is solid, smooth as butter, and satisfying to control. Yet, it lacks personality in my opinion. It's very realistic, for sure, but I ain't exactly excited by this roster of samey-looking old dudes in robes. A bit of an overcorrection from Bushido 2, perhaps. Ooh, I got the memory card, though. Kabuki Warriors clearly set out to change this, going with the very lavish and extravagant stylings of Kabuki theater. However, it is also a completely different type of fighting game. I'd personally put it in the what the fuck is going on genre. Blazing fast. Press hurry button. Motherfuckers flying around like it ain't shit. Money being thrown about. Map screen that explains nothing. Dog, Same. It has dedicated buttons for jumping and rolling, and you can straight up turn around, like just not face each other, which is quite the contrast in the face of Kakuto, as that's very Tekken to control. Using 4 face buttons in a similar manner, with timing, change, and simple directional inputs being of the essence. I suppose it doesn't hold back to block and instead has a dedicated button, but you know what? Actually, honestly, the Tekken comparison is one most journos gave it at the time, and it's definitely influenced by it, I'd say, but I'd be more inclined to compare it to Tobal. The flow, if you will, in regards to its fluidly linked up animations is almost exactly the same, just a ton faster and more aggressive. Blasting out forward motion for days, fuck steps, every run's a fucking dash, every kick a sweep worth cash, and every punch a raging uppercut, and every knockback sends one flying across the goddamn stage. It's Tobal trying to be Tekken and finding itself unable to, and doing legions of cocaine, ecstasy, and steroids to compensate. Though, honestly, this might be the shittiest impact sound I've heard in this video so far. So fucking loud and clippy too, Jesus. On the other hand, if you're a fan of the sound effect, then boy howdy does Kabuki Warriors have you covered. There's only one button for attacking, with directions dictating varieties. It's simple as, yet it maintains the swift, buttery, beefy goodness of Kengo. In fact, I'd argue that it feels even better being that hits hit hard. The animation work is also great, and I love the stomping foot sounds. What's neat to boot is that the orientation of slices seems to matter in terms of disarming blocks, and moves can change based on contextuals as well. Up and A is an upward slice normally, but if your opponent is down, it can become a giant floor stab ground pound move. It's pretty cool and is done very effortlessly animation-wise. Although, with how flailingly fast everything is, that might not even matter much. It's a game well suited to button mashing. Again, there's only one button, and that Xbox D-pad, while a bit fucky for menus, is quite frankly excellent for going ham on. This goes for Kakuto too. The ducking, grabs, charges, and typical Tekken combos combined mean that each character will have quite a fair bit of shit to do, and they also all handle distinctively timing and inputs-wise. Of course, compared to Tekken's, the move lists won't be as vast, but I imagine that had it have had a sequel, it could have been a legit poppin' series, as even now pulling off moves feels fucking great. The way the music doesn't properly start until the first blow lands. At the final blow, doing a fucking freeze frame 360 is legit epic. Doesn't have much in the way of special gimmicks or mechanics, I suppose, other than a charge attack that drains the red bar overlaying your health. The catch here being that the charges take shorter the less life you have, but it builds up so fast anyway that you're likely to not even be able to spam it fast enough for that to make a difference, but it's a cool idea in concept. You're also able to hold down the guard button and take up a boxing stance from which grabs and ducks, and it has full-on free running by holding left trigger, which is weird, and I'm not wholly convinced it offers any tactical advantage, but it's there. Either way, the confusion in Kabuki Warrior soon subsided, as the tour mode is really just about a band of traveling kabuki folks. A troupe, a caravan, if you will. Only instead of performing the arts, they kill motherfuckers and steal their bitches. Yeah, legit. If you win, you can take their warrior for your own, and the money rewarded decides how many spots on the map one can move given the traveling expenses. And naturally, the cooler you fight, the more money you get, and being showered after jungling a dude is quite satisfying for real in that ape-brain type of way. In either case, it's all a lot simpler than it looks. It's just how it drops you in with fuck all to say about shit is a bit confusing at first. I'm guessing that plays into why the reviews for it were down horrendous. Thing is too, is that as deceptively weird as the game might come across, it is incredibly basic. If this was on PS1 in this state, it'd have banked the shit out of most shits on there, but when up against DOA 3, Tekken 4, Soul Calibur, the fighters that were on the Dreamcast, and even, in fact, Kakuto Chojin, is quite the meek offering. Doesn't even have a regular arcade mode, time attack, tour, versus. It's also fucked up is that Kakuto Chojin doesn't have an RPG mode. It merely has survival, which puts the player in an arena along with a bunch of fighters and asks y'all to go mad. It's, you know, it exists. It does have a story. Characters say things pre-battle, which insinuates there being something of intrigue, but that's also all it remains as. At least it has a dope setting. A pretty major aesthetical downside is that due to the nature of theater, all stages is stages. Backdrop a change, but it's not exactly comparable to Chojin, which has this dark, metallic, wet, and grimy urban look.
Round 1. Fight.
It's slightly creepy. The menus is all like... This stage looks like a goddamn set from a Saw movie. Got some ritual offering grounds looking ass arenas too, and hella lush wet color usage. It reminds me of Need for Speed Underground 2, just seedier and grosser. Clearly Nomura's bouncer work rubbed off on Kakuto, seeing as the tribal tats is all over its art direction. Everyone's got this slightly too ripped, greasy, sweaty, inner city Mad Max look. Kakuto Chojin is the new metal of fighting games, and goddammit, I respect that. Music in both games is excellent though. You're hearing some of the smooth tunes from Kabuki right now, and Kakuto's OST is very much like Tekken 3 if it slammed monster energies and was obsessed with the occult. You know, more so than Tekken already is. I introduced the game as controversial and nearly banned earlier, which is due to the OST containing Islamic hymns with passages from the Quran. It got pointed out during previews and they left it in hoping no one would notice, forgetting that it would also release in territories where people super would, like Saudi Arabia, the government of which then demanded all copies to be recalled. Shit got changed and reissued, but it's still quite the oopsie moment. One that, if you're familiar with this type of stuff, has happened quite a bit before too. Even to Zelda. See, I have a theory here, and that's sample packs. Many sounds used in this game, I have too. I got them from old 90s 0G sample packs. Really hugely, classically, and influential sounds used by tons of games and major acts, but also very sussily sourced and legally dubious. So it could very well be that these composers got it from there, but it could also be that 0G stole it from some fucking like...
Sounds of the East, the mystic tunes of the world, spiritual hymns of the Orient.
Or some other racist ass old fuckshit sample pack name like that. Either way, I quite like both of these games. I don't know why I framed it as a versus, I just thought that it would be neat. But I like them both, even if they're failures in many aspects. Both of these studios would go on to find their footing anyway. Dream Factory once again would go on to do We Toshinden and eventually reframe their studio as a software production company, making engine tools and assets much like the devs who done did All-Star Fighters. And Lightweight would go back to the Skungo series, making a cool little game for the 360 called Kengo Legend of the Nine, which takes the trademark Skengus combat to a 3D action hack-and-slash adventure situation, which I really like. And it'll definitely be something I'll dedicate more time to in a future video, as it has some fabulous PS360 aesthetics. Really makes it seem like the studio found its way, either way. Until they teamed up with fucking Tamsoft, yes, Toshinden Tamsoft, to make a goddamn anime girls transforming into cars Muso for the PS Vita. This shit fucking blows. But also, holy shit dog, what a note. What a goddamn note to end this segment on. The Toshinden River truly still flows strongly throughout this video, even though its door must remain. Running it back to needing to be weird in the face of Tekken 3, Evil Zone is probably my most favorite example of that. Straight up not even trying to be a fighting game anymore and simply confidently going its own way. Thing is that this is a one-button fighter, similar to the Strega distance impact button and direction impact button, frequency or length of button impact button, contextuals and situationals also impact button. It certainly does the most with one button. It's still one button. Viewing it as a competitive game or as a deep mechanically complex game, i.e. comparing it to other fighters, probably won't get it to stack up favorably, but that's not what it tried to do or wanted to be. Evil Zone used the fighting game model as a vessel for cool, hype anime action figure slamming. With a dope cast of cool varied characters, hella cutscenes, spectacle on wazoo, amazing title cards and anime vibes, each cast member could have had their own show, and as such, shit is framed as such. Hence why, even despite it not being an amazing fighter, it still has a very sizable fan base. And besides, Evil Zone's worth existing purely to hear Colonel Campbell say
Ihadolka is a being,
and
I Perseru
several times. The distorted VA audio in general is quite amazing, actually.
You should drink lots of milk. Drink a gallon a day.
In either way and or case, I don't think it's any surprise that it had at least one other title very directly taking cues from it. That being Psychic Force 2012, the year that had the end of the world. It had Skoni. It had, Turkish adventurer Erden Uruk becomes the first person in history to complete a solo human-powered circumcision of the Earth. Thanks, Wikipedia. And it also had a bunch of Dreamcast motherfuckers flying about doing anime shit inside of some dope-looking skyboxes. Same distance button, but 2 button, being light attack and heavy attack, and a bonus button for guard. Wow. Similar bar shenanigans too, with a chargeable psycho gauge that lets you do more better button, though instead of a flat plane, your mains is floating inside of a 3D cube of sluggish controls. The fighting could be quicker for a start, and the basic combos have some mighty not great 3-hit combo from a mediocre 3D beat-em-up energy, provided you can even them, though, as it can be a little awkward to position oneself as such to do so given the cube. And not in the clever dodging sense. Overall, there's less spectacle and more basic combos, but the combos blow due to the controls. Inputs that'd be fine in sense making in other titles, like say, holding down all buttons to charge, are unintuitive here when you don't even use all buttons of the face to begin with. Just like how all directional inputs are similar to Evil Zone's, but also feel less natural given the space that we inhabit. A lot of full circle button inputs too that don't really jive. Though, I do like being able to smash a dude through the cube. That's pretty neat. I also like the style less. Evil Zone is pretty funny and bubbly. It has a Saturday morning anime vibe, but 2012 is trying to be darker and edgier, and I'm all for dark and edgy, but this ain't a d-xhird. This ain't Guilty Gear Accent Core Plus's character select screen designs. It's more akin to a darker moment from the Pokemon anime or whatever. Cartoon edgy, which results in a very Joker-esque color palette. I'm sure the lack of a funny dub plays into it for me too, to be honest. It made it easier for me to care about Evil Zone. I don't think I give a fuck about this basic pink-haired bitch anime girl being all like, ooh, I gotta look for person, when person doesn't even mean dick yet. You see, the Zone dealt with a plethora of instaplots. Sentai man wanting to save the world, or a girl who has a ghost living inside of her. Things you can see and get right away, but the Force is all about artificial humans and experiments and legit psychopathy, I think. And several of its characters are also complete and total assholes. It's shit that needs more of a background, which it doesn't care to give, nor do I particularly care to see it. Both in story and in gameplay, it tries to do more, but ends up being less than the very title that inspired it. Kind of a lukewarm start to our DC road trip, to be honest, but I think it's about high time I took y'all for a proper ride anyway. Yeah, that's right. It's Dreamcast o'clock, bitch. A console home to many a fighter, 3D or otherwise. It's got Marvel, aka the 2D game that everyone likes, and Power Stone, i.e. the 3D game that everyone likes. It's just not hard to see why, to be honest, as it is a Guys-like. Yeah, bitch, I said it. Full of fun, frantic, kinetic, loud, colorful energy with its own built-in hype man. Has enough depth to be competitively satisfying, but enough everything else to also work impressively well as a party game. Scouring about to pick up a bazooka, nuking your enemy, collecting bright, colorful, spinning chaos emeralds. It's got all the Sega Sunny Blue Sky isms a game may require to be made by Capcom and not Sega, but identity-wise it fits the Dreamcast like a glove. Though, I mean, honestly, if even the mostest, wellest knownest Dreamcastest 3D fighter is on some fuck shit other games would have been labeled as gimmicky for, then surely the rest must be on some truly unhinged shit, right? Well, not really. There's many 3Ds on here for sure, but they're primarily only relatively unknown and not particularly mysterious for the most part. Take VF3TB, the black sheep of the VF series, for instance. It dared to have stage gimmicks. Essentially the same shit Tekken 4 did afterwards that people also didn't like. But otherwise, I mean, this Virtua Fighter is good. I like Virtua Fighter. And I like seeing the gradual evolution of ideas here too. 2 had that pontoon level, which now gets expanded upon with actual water physics on the planks and a boat. And Megamix had that cool desert stage with the whooshing winds, now recurring with actual sand dunes and a dramatic musical energy to match. Also, Kage's horrifically Y2K era outfit is downright amazing. Lenny Kravitz looking ass bitch. It's him! Whoa! There's also a lesser-known, non-re-released sequel to Fighting Vipers called Fighting Vipers 2.
Fighting Vipers 2!
Yeah, bitch, that's what I said. A more of the same type beat. Beating hard, beating fast, and beating ass with metal guitars on full blast. Like, just listen to this shit. I fucking love this. It's more over the top though. Chains, belts, spikes. If the OG was the prettier 80s hair metal, then this is the 90s edgier, spikier, BDSM-ier metal. The cast tossed out their Cinderella CDs and went straight to Rob Zombie and The Prodigy, which is deeply impressive considering how sleazy and crazy the vibes already were. Is this motherfucker doing BMX tricks on me? Get out of here, bitch. Feels good to play though I also can't say if it plays any better than its forebearer. It's not as if I hit these up back to back. There was about a week between when I captured all Saturn footage and when I hit up the DC, yet I think the only thing they did was beef up the finishers. Yeah, I was yelling IRL with each one of those. Shit goes fucking hard. What is worth notage is that Scarab, aka Fuel Plus of Killing Zone and My Jack fame, did the DC port. Like poetry, it rhymes. Rival Schools, aka the good 3D Capcom fighter on PS1, also got a sequel on DreamCast called Project Justice. If the absence of its footage has shown so far, I have not actually played Rival Schools, but I do fuck with this bigly, as the presentation is on all cylinders. Manga panels, X 3D backgrounds, striking, stylized, pointy character designs, fire and flames, peak sunset, Japanese school energy, an incredible UI with a dope map-based character select screen, funky rockin' tunes, and combat that kicks several gallons of ass. Taking the trademark swift Street Fighter feels as I know them from EX2 and successfully translating them to true 3D. Which is interesting, as that seemed to be at least one of the roadblocks for Capcom Fighting All-Stars, and yet here we are. And just, man, this type of loading screen followed by this type of hip-hop beat. Soundtracking these fly kids on a mysterious investigation. Bookended with them classic cicada sounds as they all show off pre-battle. It's... holy hell, I'd play this adventure game. With most of these fighters, it's like, the stories are neat or cool, but not particularly capital E engaging. This is where Project Justice differs, as solely through the presentation and general class overall, I got engrossed fully. Capcom had Sing before Nintendo did, so now I'm just left envisioning this alternate universe where we got a Rival School Famicom Detective / Kowloon High School Chronicles like on DS or PSP or whatever, as this cast and style seems 100% suited for it. I was not ready for the triumphantly smile with a teardrop emoji level harmonica solos in the battle music. I wasn't ready for the special win animations unique to the damages taken. I ain't reddith for the shit to have unique environmental sound effects for every stage and their cute pre-battle show-offs. This be the type of goddamn game to have dozens of distinctive team attacks, not even just animations blasting or slightly removed from reality like assists. No, like legit shit that these folks would do. There's tons of of personality woven into how people fight and in their portraits and their designs and even in the soundtrack. I only played this for like a couple of hours so far, but I think I fell in love with this game. I know that this ain't Arika, but it does have the same character artist, and this basically feels to me like a logical continuation of what the EX game started out with. Having style, personality, and character seep deep into every facet of the fighting in 3 dimensions while maintaining what made Street Fighter work so well in 2D. Justice has so many amazing little mini systems and ideas, like fighting over a special during the special with the characters on the sidelines, or switching between rounds with certain characters being more suited to fight others. The various grapples and cool counters and sidesteps all under one shoulder button, the satisfying hitches on hits a la EX2, and the fucking mini parries when shits collide. It's... It is contextually a simple game with clever button layouts, but one that's mechanically vast, dense, and gratifying as heck. Project Justice owns. Also, this chick is called Chairperson, and I think that is just neat. Given how the video started with a floundering Capcom, it wouldn't be unfitting to end it with what I think may now be one of my all-time favorite fighters suddenly, but we have a ton else to get to. Oh, we ain't even done with the DreamCast, as From Software blurted out a strange little ditty by the name of Frame Gride. And I loves me some From, pre-Dark Souls From to be exact. A few years ago, I did a giant video on a handful of their games pre-Demons and then followed that up with a video on Demons, and I fell in love with just about everything that I played, just as I just did with Justice. Enchanted Arms was one of the oddest JRPGs ever, with a as cool as it is jank PS360 aesthetic. The Echo Knights were ball and adventure mystery games. Beyond was a unique horror game. And Evergrace wooed me with its bizarre music, visuals, and everything else. Nothing about From Software was normal, from how they came about, to who took up which positions, to what they chose to make and publish. And Frame Gride fiercely sits within this lineage, because of course these motherfuckers weren't gonna make a regular old fighter. God no. We got desert medieval mech knights, spooky foreboding atmosphere and menus, a Kota Hoshino OST that slathers the full thing in experimental energies, and gameplay that could have been behind the door if it hadn't taken the fire exit labeled too dope to give a fuck. Though also a little on the odd side. The controls, to begin with, seem like something straight from a fucking PSP game, which, given that the DC controller also only has one analog, makes sense, but one wouldn't expect this analog to then control the camera, and yet it does. Walk with the D-pad, strafe with the shoulder buttons, but also use the shoulder buttons in conjunction with the face buttons to do specials, but also use the face buttons for normals. It's not reminiscent of Armored Core, what with the kinesthetics being kind of mechy, delaying the sword strikes and projectiles with rustic, robotic, process-esque animations, but you also got this fast-as-fuck nimblement and some really simple arcadey pacing overall. The different parts seem to me to have much less of an impact on how your robot handles, for example, nor is it exactly stuffed with combos or tech. I mean, damages is part-based, made visible with the sectioned-off flickers, and you also got a stamina energy bar that depletes through shooting, dashing, and launching shit, like your little buddies called Squires, so it's not like there's nothing to monitor. It's just that with sweeps as big as they is, and the combat being rather chaotic, the parts-based shit fell wholly by the wayside, and the energy bar refills so rapidly with zero punishments for emptiness that I wasn't actively managing it ever. Same way that your frame limits which parts you can use for it, and you can totally build more than one mech as well, spending tons of time fine-tuning shit. However, I had absolutely no issues completely steamrolling the competition at every turn. I had a little thingy that made my bar charge quicker, a little buddy who kept on gunning, and otherwise I simply relied on my big beefy sword strikes to fuck shit up. Don't get me wrong, that's fun as fuck. But I'm just trying to say that this ain't exactly on par with the required depth and tinkering of other FromSoft mech games, nor is its baseline combat anywhere near as deep as, well, generally any other fighter, really. Guess it is an arena fighter in that sense. Anyway, peep this options menu. If you saw this with no provided context, would you have said it that this was for a mech-on-mech action game? Or would you have pegged it to be a medieval game? Because man, just how this fucker starts, with rustic painted drawings cutting to this uncannily crisp and sharp 3D hallway accompanied by IRL GIF fire, art nights, and the player getting to choose their mech parts. based upon stats or whatever lame normie game bullshit, but formulated through how cool you think the names sound. Petal Plate, Far Cross, Ansera and M Blood, Destroyer and E Song. Fuck yes. Then we get to the hangar, showing our robo punctuated by a drony, slow and somber Arabic skill piece. I tried to match this baller energy by going with the names Big Ozone and Pope God. Look at just how cool and simple the color picking is. Getting glows, matching the color you chose, and how it's always paired up with gold and just so fucking drippy. Pope God in the real. This gosh dang metallic and gold medieval font. These gems upon winning. Gems that can be used in fucking alchemy back at base in order to make parts and squires with. It's so cool and different. It's an aesthetic that typifies a lot of early FromSoft, now that I think about it. Evergrace, The Lost Kingdoms, and Kingsfield 4, all of this medieval, musky future energy. Beige, rust, darkness, dank dungeons, futuristic tech, Middle Eastern sounding names, color palettes, and architectural cues. Foggy forests, drippy outfits, oddly tinted skyboxes, and nothing quite being the go-to normal way as it usually is. Like, take this forest. This could have been from KF4. This world map is Lost Kingdoms as fuck. The intro hallway is Shadow Tower to a T. And the art is giving off big Forever Kingdom energy. I won't grandstand too much about how much I miss this from software, as I'm happy that they found their successes without watering their shit down too much, but I mean, I defo did a little bit. In either case, there's no real story to speak of in Frame Gride. It's got a setting, but the game consists primarily out of picking out dudes to fight from a map, getting their gems to make parts, and then picking out more dudes. Nor, shockingly considering who made it, is it particularly difficult or long. It did have online play originally. No clue if that would be set upable today. Maybe Fightcade could allow it somehow. I don't know. But yeah, it's more interesting than it is particularly fun, though. Then I do very, very deeply fuck with its atmosphere and style. You defo won't be finding another game like this, I can say that for certain. A fittingly Dreamcast-y closer in that sense. FG can be right up there with D2, Seaman, Egg, and Illbleed as the classic type of Dreamcast curio game the system has now become known for. I also mentioned Bilstein many moons ago, which is pretty good too. In many ways, being more of the same as Star Gladiator, even in the sense that it's literally the same plot and pretty much all movesets carry over, but there's a few new cool characters and they cranked up the speed to Gonzo levels while maintaining the heft. And hey, Hayato even made it into Schmarvel, which is a cute send-off to the Star Gladiator series, and a nice ending to the DC segment. If this video was an iceberg, then these would be the depths. Because I mean, Battle Thrist barely even fucking exists, seeing as the console it was released on doesn't. The Panasonic M2, originally the 3DO M2, and before that, a 3DO peripheral. A lot of buyouts, direction shifts, and shit behind the scenes and politics between its many hands stirring in the global 3DO pot led to the console being canned. Fair few of its handful of games ended up elsewhere though. Hell Knight on PS1, Clay Fighter 3 on N64, and Konami's Battle Thrist did at least release in arcades. Intended to be a follow-up to their 3D arcade fighter Fighting Bujutsu, a game with cool title cards, goobery character designs, and combat that looks very similar to Kensei Sacred Fist. I don't have to fuck around to try and figure out MAME though, given the sheer volume of very different proprietary arcade boards, cabinets, aspect ratios, and control schemes. It seems to me like a ball to entangle at a different date. Shoutouts to Video Game Esoterica for the Battle Thrist gameplay though. Great channel. Digs into truly obscure shit like Buriki 1, a fighting game for the Hyper Neo Geo 64, a system that I didn't even know existed. These are released, but if Wooly's gameplay is anything to go by, it doesn't emulate particularly well, but it seems interesting. If you want to get really deep, however, how about some FX Fighter?
Are you the best they could find?
Whoops! Released on DOS in 1995, it plays pretty solidly for its time, being the same time as Toshinden and Tekken 1 on PS1, thus taking primarily after Virtua Fighter with its lowered angled camera and swift peckish punches and kicks. Has ringouts too, and a amazingly 90s OST containing crusty, crunchy aim and breaks straight from the Amiga sampler. Shit comes. Sadly, DOS is scary, and I'm used to pre-packaged old PC games collection chamber style, so I'm not about to poke about the void just to finagle how to run this bitch 1995 style. Not here for that action.
I've suffered enough for you people.
Who else would go to the Switch store to actually buy Urban Fighting? Cause dog damn, we got the PewDiePie 2012 font. We got LaFunny Minecraft video font. We even got dubiously sourced assets with my man right here T-posing in his PFP. And we got every stage being this Half-Life 2 looking ass industrial zone, just from slightly different angles or time of day. Oh, already on the character select screen, we are out here. You see, only the analog stick is usable, but it's configured in a very harshly binary type of way where the diagonals ain't registered, so you have to be dead on with the direction picked to get to where you need to be. What amazing consequences will this have for the fighting? Well, it's a Street Fighter-like. No, shut up! I know what the fuck I'm saying, okay? Look at his kick. That's Chun-Li, motherfucker. It is a stiff and awkward Street Fighter 2. A 8-button variant of it as well, so kudos for using all of them, I guess. At first, I thought that the directional inputs did not affect their effects, implying that those 8 moves would be all you get, but as insert name into the script, I was able to pretty reliably half-circle button my way to some bootleggy Hadoukens. And I could even do a super mega one with my special meter. Taking notes was quite the thing here, by the way. Normally I'd pause the game to jot my shit down, but hitting the start button here straight up exits back to the main menu. Very unique design commentary on the futility of procrastination, of waiting around and ending back up at square one instead of always being moving ahead. It's deep shit. Fuck you. In either case, curious as I was, I typed Street Fighter into the Unity Asset Store and found this, with this screenshot as well. So that explains why it's Street Fighter 2. Real classy move to keep the menus, honestly. The map is defo also just an asset, as it's hella not made for this, with cams clipping through, the sizing being way off. It's all telltale signs of this being a asset flip. A dirty word. As I, for one, think it's fine that the barrier to entry is so low now that this could be made. Yeah, sure, sometimes you get cynical assholes, but a lot of other times you get people otherwise not being able to make what they want to make for a wide variety of reasons now being able to. I don't think the cynical efforts of some should come to punish everyone else. I wasn't a big fan of the cringe crusade on asset flips from 6 or 7 years ago, just saying. Especially in an industry with as much fuck shit as this one, I don't think it's worth going after bedroom creatives, even if some of them suck. Plus, I mean, this shit's funny as hell. I love the fact that it's on the Switch in particular. There's a dime a dozen of these types of games on Steam, but something like this coming on console is very special. Thing is, it shouldn't happen. There's safeguards for that. And yet, bravely, Urban Street Fighter ventured forth. Besides, it's not like there's much else in the way of exclusive fighters on Switch anyway. Actually, we've only had 2 Nintendo games so far, haven't we? That's fucked up. It is time to change. Oh god. Oh no. It's Shrek again. Him scarting wasn't enough. He's fighting now too. And much like Power Stone, this is also what Urgai's like. Picks up items automatically. That's nice. We've come a long way since Final Fight Revenge. But the walking speed is fucking atrocious and the jumping's really rigid. It's not a great feeling game control-wise if you ask me. It's that stun locky and it can be hard to hit each other as doing anything requires stopping dead in thine tracks, making it the anti-Power Stone. There's no party. Only pain. Fights also just sort of end. I'm not sure how to read a dub or a L. It just says game over. I don't see any health either. I suppose I could Google this or peep the menu, but piss off. I believe though that the idea here is that you fill up your juice meter by hurting the ops, and when it hits uno hundo, it'll trigger a super slam. And they who has the most super slams at the end of the jam wins. Question mark. Whatever, who cares? Game looks nice enough, I suppose. Cursed character models, nice colorful levels, rich with that DS feeling. Like, I adore this fire here. That's some good fire. And somehow the music ain't half bad. Yeah, that's some sleek DS funk, all things considered. Good job, Shrek. creepy green bit. Also on DS is Dragon Ball Z Kai Ultimate Butoden, which is actually the first Butoden series DBZ game since Final Bout and Ultimate Battle 22. And holy fuck, does it ever blow both of these games out of the goddamn water. It's fast as fuck and kinetic as dicks, and I cover it more in-depthly here in this video. Probably a better place for Nintendo fighters than the DS is the N64, as it has deadly arts. Oh my god. Another Konami fighter with incredible music, of which I've used 2 tracks prior in this video already, now making 3. Of course, the most important question with Konami fighters now is going to be, does it use the Kensei handling again? To which the answer is, the selective stiffness is certainly still there. Fluid moves, but jerky movement. Just, it's far less Tekken-y than its brethren, going for more of its own thing. Impressively long, lengthy lists of lavish combos, Virtua Fighter-style inputs, yet sharing more in common with MK when it comes to feels. Bearing similar, comedically quick punches and kicks, which is what it sticks to 2 buttons, a punch button, and a kick button. It's got more than that going on, obviously, with sidesteps and combos coming from guard positions. And while I've been dropping names for comparison's sake to hopefully quickly convey something, it's actually a pretty unique game. Somewhere in between the stages, the amazing yet different soundtrack, the lack of a regular arcade mode, a character creator, and you getting graded after rounds, and the fighting being what it is, it really stands in a lane all its own. Like when I saw this chick jump off a wall, I knew that Deadly Arts wasn't fucking around. And I mean, here's the thing as well, right? As with VF3 and Tekken 4, DA has the stage types everyone seems to hate. You know, geometry and shit. True fighting gaming is the Street Fighter 4 training level for several hours on end. But I don't know, dog. You knock over a torch and it creates a small fire within the level, collapse a wall of jail cell bars, and boom, now there's a whole new segment of level. Even if things sometimes get in the way, I'd still say that this adds more than it subtracts, and you can also just plan around it. Don't be a bitch. Yeah, it's pretty good. And I love how it looks. The snow in this stage plays really well with the N64's anti-aliasing blur, and I dig how these serene green fields get an almost otherworldly quality due to the smooth gradiented texture work. And this dude's green and gold outfit fucking bangs. That said, the character designs are probably its weakest aspect. There's no real story presentation that I could find, and these dudes don't insinuate much in the way of a personality otherwise. No cheeky win quotes or FMVs or text blurbs or bios or nothing. I could add something along the lines of, Konami at least did a better job of that later with Kensei, but these 2 games released about a month apart from each other, so they'd have to have been in development around the same time too, which in that sense, it's impressive how wildly different they are in almost every way. And I respect how ambitious this game is as well, containing everything from the times of day changing in various levels to a goddamn character creator. Yes, I have created my ultimate weapon, Hank. And you can actually train your Hank and make her the greatest fighter ever, gaining moves and learning through doing. It's cute. Just as cute as the Genki logo who done codev the title titled Fighter's Destiny. Also an equally odd and experimental fighter for the N64. For example, it doesn't even have normal health. Ah, bitch, you gotta earn points. Depleting someone's health bar will only knock them out, but not in the KO you win sense, they'll just get the birds. Thing is that it's really about doing cool wrestling-like moves and get graded. Within those, there's reversals, counters, and cancels, and of course, competitively, there's a lot of tactics involved in goading one out for a grapple. The basic combat in between that is truly only a means to an end, with the end being that, or a simple ring out. Naturally, not all schmoves is graded equally. Said ring out is often only just a single point. Like, what, bro? What do you think? This is fucking Virtua Fighter? I'm tempted to liken it to one-on-one, if anything. It puts the focus of getting to a certain point in a similar fashion, as you can't chip shit. Though, even the baseline battling still feels good, very fat and heavy, and how grapples can link up from those is super satisfying as well. And due to the N64 controller, it only uses 2 buttons too, A and B. But just scrolling through these move lists, it's wild how much it still does with that alone. So much stuff based off of context, subtle timing, or how one can set up conditions prior. It's legit, and it's different. However, aesthetically, I find it to be a tad on the blander side. Sports on TV UI vibes are cool for sure, but it has a very muted and dark color palette, and the cast is full of buff men's. Dude over here is straight up called Ninja. Not exactly gonna set the world on fire, though luckily if one wants vibes to go berserk, there's always Fighter's Destiny 2, which has this clown shit, but regrettably 1S less. Yeah, still very much the same though. To be honest, I like these games, but the reason I tagged him on here rather than giving him a true and proper N64 act is because, well, I just don't have that much to say about him. Same with Toy Fighter and The Last Bronx. Dope games with dope styles and dope names, but MAME is scary and I didn't want to burn another Saturn disc. Sometimes I also learn about games post-writing, which can suck when working with pacing and blah 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 blah. Things get how they got. This is also why I have a whole batch of PS1 games left still for this exact reason. It takes a ton of guts to kick off your game with 8 whole fucking minutes of unvoiced FMV. Full-scale ball-end levels of confidence. Same with these goddamn loading screens. One by one, all incredible.
Round 1. Fight.
Luckily, that confidence and ambition transitions into the gameplay of Fatal Fury Wild Ambition, as it's a post-Tekken 3 fighter that said, yes, we can take this challenge. It actually fared decently well. It handles similar to EX2, that same snappy, near-instant feedback 2D fighter to 3D type vibe, and given that Fatal Fury and Street Fighter have always friendlily, competitively coexisted, it's mighty fitting. If SNK was struggling a little bit with 3D though, and Capcom was struggling a lot, then oh boy, whatever Midway was doing with MK4 is the stuff of fucking legends.
The Black Dragon died with Kano. You're the last one, Jarek.
Never!
Come in, Major Briggs. This is Lieutenant Sonya Blade, over.
Sonya, this is Major Briggs. Come in. Sonya, this is Jax. Are you there?
I think it's honestly not that bad of a conversion of the 2D MKs into 3D. It's just that 2D MK wasn't ever the bestest of the best when it came to balanced or deep fighting, and by now that started to show more and more. Fuck competing with Tekken though, these motherfuckers told guys to step aside as the funk on their cursor sound is goddamn unmatched. Unmatched! If you think this game isn't spooky or edgy enough though, Midway also made Biofreaks, a game about wicked and twisted freaks. So basically the whole cast is reject survival horror game enemies. Except for the women's, of course. You gotta keep those normal. It seems like more of a deliberate attempt to go full 3D. MK4 had sidesteppies, but by and large it was how it were. But BF is... yeah, it's pretty much just MK Toshinden. There's the fast combos, but also the fucky sidestepping, and the jittery, can't tell if terrible frame pacing, rate, or animation work, mannequin-esque quality. Not to mention that it's also weapons-based. The main mechanics at play appear to be goddamn dismemberment, lose a arm, lose a weapon, lose your moves. Which is neat, I suppose, but I also think that this game is lame as fuck. I mean, I ain't gonna pretend to be expert at this shit, but the balance seems fucked from the jump. Zipperhead has his guns, i.e. an invisible projectile that zips across the map, and look at the damage that it does. Bitch can spam that shit and nuke a whole health bar, whereas most other combos don't do nearly that much. Feels like something one could exploit, and the AI certainly did, and it sucks. Also, isn't Zipperhead a fucking slur?
With Wall Street in shambles, the government bankrupt, and technological corporate giants running unorthodox takeovers, Neo-America was born.
Wow. Imagine that. I wasn't playing either of these games growing up though. I mean, I had MK4, but I never really could get into it much. No, my bitch ass was playing Mortal Kombat Special Forces and the Sub-Zero game.
It was a war between good and evil.
I think if anything made Midway seem like a bumbling blunderfucks at the time, it was defo these two games. Sure, Subby Hubby can boogie bust on down like a motherfucker, but he sure as shit can't do dick all else that the game requires him to do. I suppose the idea of taking your fighter engine and systems into a 2D beat-em-up ain't all that odd. Tekken did it with Force Mode, but Force Mode had chicken. And there is, sadly, no chicken here. especially because it plays worse than the regular fighting. You don't have to push a fucking button to face your enemy, but here, you do, and it sucks. That said, I love the aesthetic. 2.5D is quite the wave, with its little pixelated diorama humans schmoozing about these tiny looking dollhouse dungeons. It's fucking adorable. Can't say the same about the Jax game, which takes place in a top-down grey world of where am I? But at least it doesn't feel impossible. I can't be mad at this though. MK Mythologies is comedic timing caked into its very DNA. Yeah, this is definitely the beat-em-up action that you want from a game like this. Much as Midway tried, a lot of the edge had been lost from what made Mortal Kombat so alluring in the first place. Which is funny to think about, considering that the PS1 had no shortage of shit being cursed. Tekken 1, I wouldn't say is a scary game at all, for instance, but it does have this stuff. Guys was also weirdly eerie at times, with it digging into occulty curses and pitch black dark voids always looming. So it's no surprise to me that someone did make a horror fighter. Kakugo no Suzume doesn't use gore or shocking imagery, but instead relies heavily on mystical, ancient Asian mysticisms. The same energy that made Kowloon's Gate brim with impenetrable terror. Music, clanging and droning away Silent Hill 1 style, burning piles of corpses, text in the sky, no doubt sealing their souls in entrapment, and this title screen. The game feel is equally bizarre. Like, see this double kick? That's just me pressing circle once. And there's more where that came from, with your character going off the moment you press literally anything. Shit like this gives the game a weirdly ethereal quality, detached from the action, watching the horror unfold with little to no control. It's a rather unreal and surreal feeling fighter that you can't help but feel this creepypasta-ass energy radiating from. Not in the scary jump scare sense, simply exuding this cursed underlying sensation of playing something that you shouldn't be playing. Oh, that, and it's also just fun to mow everything down to some kick-ass drum and bass music. Remember how I said that when PS1 everyone wanted to get in on the 3D fighters craze? Well, this is Atlus doing that. And I didn't include it there because I was worried that shit'd get too repetitive during that segment, but here it be. Yusha Heaven's Gate, actually developed by Rakdime, who would later go on to make all anime arena fighters. I did it. I found the fighting gamist man. He is all of them. Akira with swag. Heaven's Gate is slow and heavy. Straight up on some Star Gladiator shit, only if it was running in fucking PAL mode. Under the water. Stuck in the mud. But also amazing synth fusion cock rock, super bolt colors, street heavy drip, Journey to the West, fucking firearms, and generally just a badass hardcore baller swag attitude. It kinda plays like shit, but a beefy type of shit. Real shit type shit. Now fuck with it. You can't tell me that this hecking skull meter and these goddamn purple gradient fonts don't own. Like, look at these colors. These fonts. All of them at once. It's so bold and loud. This game sees minimalism and beats the ever-living shit out of it. Just disgusting amounts of denim in the character designs too. Straight up molasses air kicking a dude against the ceiling. So, yeah, Yasha may be dumb as fuck, but I fully respect its efforts. Salute to a legend. Oh my god. Another bizarre, curious 3D FG participant is Bluebreaker Burst from Human Entertainment, a studio mostly known for narrative games like Mazurna Falls, Moonlight Syndrome, and Clock Tower, and being one of those companies that split off into a plethoid of cornucopioids, being indirectly responsible for anything from Danganronpa to Killer 7. And it is exactly that narrative expertise that they used here for Big Story Mode. I'm talking explorable environments, world maps, cutscenes, and NPCs please. In many ways, this is a JRPG where the fights is one-on-one fighting. Yet, as you may be able to tell, it looks a little wooden, and that's largely because it is. There's some cool summony shit going on, but for the most part, unless I'm gravely missing something, what you see is what you get. Which, given how your average human entertainment game looked and animated, I'm gonna say that's to be expected. Cool vibes though. Dope logo, loading screens, comfy SNES type JRPG anime energy with adorable sprite work and impressively animated art. Seems a little cliche perhaps, but that ain't always bad, as in this context it makes for a pretty dang unique fighting game. Very interesting, for sure. Shoutouts to the homie Hazel for showing me this one. You the realist. And finally, there's VS by Polygon Magic of Shaolin fame. Shit's their first fighting game and is therefore very much the normal one, not yet having to adjust to the juggernaut that is Tekken 3. And, you know, it's okay. There's a surprising amount of personality actually, with licensed music, a hood aesthetic, one of the characters is straight up a pimp. There's also the same martial arts focused as Shaolin, and considering that Versus released alongside Tekken 2, it's like, yeah, it's alright. Y'all are doing it. Good job. And I think that's about all the PS1 3D fighters I have to share. Like I could bring up Thrill Kill, but do you really give a shit? I don't give a shit. The PS1 library is deeply and endlessly vast, and the sheer volume of random 3D fighters is a big testament to that for real. Now, on PS2, 3D fighting games were comparatively normal, as the genre had come into its own. Less rogue developers getting in on the action and more established series pushing out sequels. Virtua Fighter, Tekken, Soul Calibur. I guess Tekken 4 was a little stank. I brought it up a couple times earlier, but they experimented with 3D environments and nobody liked it. Arika also came back with EX3, aka the weird one with tag team combat that also nobody liked. I fuck with it either way though as this video has shown, my standards is funky. Wait, well hold up. Computer, enhance! Holy shit. On the low, though, VF4 feels like another fucking benchmark in the same way that 2 did. Tekken and Street Fighter may have still been fumbling a tiny bit early PS2, but this fucking game. Look at these goddamn menus, dog. Look at this character select. And the fighting feels so smooth and fast and hard as fuck all at the same time. It's kind of wild to me how underappreciated this series appears to be as far as more mainstream appreciation goes. Like, if I chalk up anything to Tekken far outdoing it, it's just because Tekken is edgier, had more style. But with this, man, I don't know, VF4 is style. Plus it has shit that Tekken would steal outright later, so this game fucking rules. Additionally, the PS2 also would be where DBZ would go all out berserk, saying fuck you to balance, to depth, to any semblance of a viable competitive environment, and simply taking all the action figures out of the box, which I think is just neat. Also brought up BCV and Kengo earlier, and those are definitely not your average fighting games, and I mean, you know, Fighter Maker is kind of wacky because you make fighter. I love how cripsy and clean this shit is. The fighting game they'd play on TV. Yeah, get him. You got this, girl. Beat him up. Ooh. Whoa, hey, whoa. Oh shit, it's the bus. Let's go! What's also an odd little PS2 moment is Capcom publishing a Onimusha platformer fighter that sadly refuses to run on PCSX2, and I'm not about to wait for a copy. Same with Fighting Fury. Legends. Take a look at this box art though. And finally, there's Garuden Break Blow Fist or Twist, a big, beefy, big boy Bara buff man guy fighter based on a book, not even a manga. A book! The cast might not be the most diverse, but the presentation is certainly on point. The way the camera slowly zooms in as the fighting intensifies is very cool, utilizing a similar tug-of-war system as DBZ Legends did, similarly climaxing with crazy cutscene cutaways upon big tug. Though here you can truly feel the tugging in the actual combat, influencing guards and breaks and dodges, and how fast or hard hits hit. It's a very intense fighting experience, and I like it. And yeah, that's about it for PS2 fighters. PS3 is pretty much the same deal, established series, only of course during this era we saw considerably less fighting games across the board, but you know, PlayStation All-Stars exists. And Tekken 6 had a freaky, funky force mode that I love and hate, but that's really it. Where things are truly at is in the handheld realm. The PSP, for instance, had so many fucking fighters that I think I might actually just leave it be. Saint Seiya, Omega, Ultimate, Cosmos, Soul Eater 1, the incredible DBZ movie game 1 that I flipping love, and many, many more. And then there's the Vita, which had, this. What the fuck is up with these Ryan Reynoldses? These Chris Pratts? These goddamn Jake Genericans over here, holy shit. I bought a Vita for this game.
No. Why did you do... Why? You motherfucker.
I hacked it so that I could video out through HDMI and also get games for free for later, yet, of course, I had to buy Reality Fighters physically. Something about this being the only Vita game that I will own spoke to me in a deep, profound way. Now, I could put my face in here, but instead of clowning myself, I figured that I'd try to import the generic white man from the box art, and the results were... interesting. But it also comes with a built-in cast of incredible characters. You gotta have the white man with the afro, the classic, and Mr. Miyagi from that one movie that 40-somethings like. Ninja Turtles? Transformers? He-Mans? One of them. Also, yeah, my character's name is New Faiteru. When it asked me to type shit, I hadn't yet learned how to see the Vita screen and record footage at the same time, so I blindly touched around and that's what came out. I, for one though, love that everything but the combat is wholly done with the touchscreen. That was super necessary and integral. Oh hell yeah, with the Borat reference. That combat, to be fair, ain't even terrible. Responsive, quick, sound effects is okay, reminds me of how MK4 handled, and whoa, look at these combo lists. It's not much, but it's more than I expected. Obviously, the camera work alone makes this not tournament legal, but I also can't hate on it neither. Most of its cast is based on real fighting styles or stereotypes: boxer, kung fu, Rastafari, zombie, but I handle fairly variedly, with Zomboy doing mostly grapples, ballet being all about wacky big kicks, and the Rasta man busting out the capoeira. Although, while it isn't particularly terrible, it's not particularly good neither. The very limited movesets start wearing out their lack of charm eventually, as there isn't much to learn, so trying out the character is essentially the same as mastering them. And while the ARG gimmick is cute, it's also mostly disgusting, nor am I big on the App Store visual design. It also does some awkward shit where, when readying the self for stage framing, it recalibrates the moment the characters enter the scene, at which point it almost always puts you at an awkward angle, meaning you either gotta lean or hold the Vita sideways or weirdly upward. So I don't even know if the gimmick of playing this IRL and having the IRL be in the game would work out all that well given this. That said, there's no way the objective here wasn't gonna turn into, what can I put in this game? Oh shit, yeah, here we go. Tekken 2, baby! Crying Pikachu? Why, of course. But humanoid Soul Calibur Sonic? No, apparently not good enough. Jack from Stranger of Paradise would never let me down though. And Bean Shirt Man from Disaster Report 4? Bean Shirt Man from Disaster Report 4. Sadly, the game is catist. I tried my darndest to get Willem. But his cat face won't get recognized as a face, and quite frankly, that's horrible. Most of what I threw at it failed though, which, you know, I don't know, there's an allegory to something in there somewhere to someone. Me though, I enjoyed playing through pretty much every game in this video, with very few exceptions. With Killing Zone clearly being my favorite. Some of y'all may have sat through this whole thing being like, hey, where's the discussion of competitive shits? Times these games may have been played, champions at some of them, or just how well suited I think these titles could have been for such an environment, then, well, that's just not really how I grew up rolling with fighters. I am, as hopefully displayed here, far too engrossed into this bullshit for anyone to ever dare muscle up and call me a casual. This extends far past the casual interest, but I'm just not a very competitive person. I have many friends who are. I'm not unfamiliar with the scene per se, but growing up, for me, aside from like Tekken 3 or Soul Cal 2, we'd play fighting games together, but not against each other. That's certainly what I remember most fondest. The flats, many folks condensed. I had no shortage of kids to play with, and so every other week some motherfucker pulled up with some fuckshit ass secrets to share, like, yo, do you know Tekken 3 is like this professor guy in it? And we'd be all like, ah, no way, dog, what, no way, and then we'd all go over to his house or whatever, huddling around the TV, catching Dr. B fucking flailing about the ground like it was the hypest shit ever. Or some kid coming over with this insane-ass save file for goddamn, like, Tenkaichi 3 with all the fuck shit unlocked, busting out the craziest capsule fusion special combo, hyperdrive, Super Saiyan bullshit, Janemba, whatever the fuck no one else has seen before, making like the whole earth explode and we'd all be cheering and yelling at the TV, screaming our little lungs out. Or, you know, having my chipped PS1 and getting barely marked discs every month with who knows what. That's the energy that I sort of tried to carry over here, just being like, yo, you seen this shit? Have you seen the Daytona car in Fighter's Megamix? Have you seen the cool epic cutscenes in this Strega? Have you seen battle construction vehicles being just like my Japanese animes?
Have you seen Street Fighter 6? It's got Yakuza towns for real, whoa!
That shit is why I love fighting games, and yeah, I'm glad that I was hopefully able to share that with y'all. Peace!